Hello, hello, hello all. G'day, g'day, g'day. Bit of a sad day in that it's our final Lone Wolf Wednesday. All good things. All good things. No, Mama. It is the end. The end of an era. Sad days indeed. Okay. Need to update the overlay. We are up to book 20. Hello and welcome to the last of our Lone Wolf Wednesdays. We're up to book 20, The Curse of Nar. Let's go. The story so far. You are Grandmaster Lone Wolf, sole survivor of the massacre that wiped out the First Order of the Kai, the elite warrior caste of Summerland. It is the year MS 5081, 31 years since your brave kinsmen perished at the hands of the Dark Lords of Helgadad. These champions of evil, who were sent forth by Nar, the King of Darkness, to destroy the fertile world of Magnamund, have themselves since been destroyed. You vowed to avenge the murder of the Kai and kept your pledge, for it was you who brought about their downfall. When alone you infiltrated their foul domain, the Darklands, and destroyed the base of their power that was the infernal city of Helgadad. In the wake of their destruction, chaos befell the Darkland armies that had been poised to conquer all of Magnamund. Their disorder escalated into a mutinous civil war which allowed the Freeland armies of Magnamund time in which to recover and launch a successful counteroffensive. Against the odds, a swift and total victory was secured over the feuding enemy armies. For more than 10 years now, and let's get rid of that audio feedback. For more than 10 years now, peace has reigned in Summerland. Under your direction, the once ruined monastery of the Kai has been rebuilt and restored to its former glory. And the task of teaching a new order of Kai warriors the skills and proud traditions of your ancestors has been re-established. The new generation of Kai recruits, all of whom were born during the era of war against the Dark Lords, possess strong, latent Kai skills and show exceptional promise. These skills will be nurtured and honed to perfection during their time at the monastery, so that they may teach and inspire future generations, thereby ensuring the continued security of your homeland in future years. Your attainment of the rank of Kai Grandmaster brought with it great rewards. Some, such as the restoration of the Kai and the undying gratitude of your fellow Summerlending, could have been anticipated. Yet, there are those rewards which could not possibly have been foreseen. The discovery that lay within you lay the potential to develop Kai disciplines beyond those of the Magna Kai, which were once thought to be the ultimate to which a Kai master could aspire, was truly a revelation. This discovery has inspired you to search for the wisdom and power that no Kai Lord before you has ever possessed. In the name of your creator, the god Kai, and for the greater glory of Summerland and the goddess Ashir, you have vowed to scale the very pinnacle of Kai perfection, to attain all of the Grand Master disciplines and become the first Kai Supreme Master. With diligence and determination, you set about to restore the Kai Monastery and to train the New Order recruits. Your efforts were swiftly rewarded. Within the space of 2 short years, the first raw recruits had graduated to become a cadre of gifted Kai Masters, who in turn were able to commence the teaching of their skills to subsequent intakes of novices. Readily, the Masters rose to their newfound responsibilities, leaving you freer to devote more of your time to the pursuit and perfection of your Grand Master disciplines. During this period, you also received expert tutelage in the ways of magic from 2 of your most trusted friends and advisors, Guildmaster Bane, leader of the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star, and Lord Ramoa, speaker for the High Council of the Elder Mages of Desi. In the deepest subterranean level of the monastery, 100 feet below the Tower of the Sun, you ordered the excavation and construction of a special vault. In this magnificent chamber, wrought of granite and gold, you placed the Lore Stones of Nixator, 7 gems of Kai power which you'd recovered during your earlier quest for Kai knowledge. In this vault, bathed in the golden light of the radiant gems, you spent countless hours in pursuit of perfection. Sometimes alone, sometimes in the company of your 2 able advisors, Bane and Ramoa. You worked hard to develop your innate Grand Master disciplines and grasp the fundamental secrets of Brotherhood and Old Kingdom magic. During this time, you noticed many remarkable changes taking place in your body. You became physically and mentally stronger, your 5 primary senses sharpened beyond all that you'd ever experienced before, and perhaps most remarkably, your body began to age at a much slower rate. For every 5 years that elapse now, you age but 1. In the years since your victory over the Dark Lords, peace has reigned victorious, and the peoples of the Free Kingdoms have rejoiced in the knowledge that the evil which once threatened to destroy them has been banished from the face of Magnamund. Readily, men have exchanged their swords for plowshares and shields for plows, and now the only marching they do is along the ruts of their freshly furrowed fields. Few are the watchful eyes that scan the distant horizon in fear of what may appear, although there are still some who maintain their vigilance. The agents of the dark god Na come in many guises, and there are those upon Magnamund who wait quietly in the shadows for the chance to do his evil bidding. Already your newfound skills have been tested against Na's agents, and you have on each occasion acquitted yourself admirably. Yet the continuing victories have enraged the Dark God and inflamed his lust for vengeance. From the depths of his stronghold upon the Plain of Darkness, he created and sent to Summerland an evil champion called Wolfsbane, who was the very image of yourself. While you were engaged upon a quest overseas, the impostor terrorized your homeland and sought to destroy your reputation and the honor of the Kai. And he would have succeeded had it not been for your courage and determination. You returned home and pursued your enemy to the ancient necropolis in the city of Tyso. Here, in a deep subterranean crypt, you and your evil alter ego were drawn through a shadow gate, an astral corridor which connects your homeworld of Magnamund to several other planes of existence. You both emerged on the remote planet of Avaros, where a deadly duel ensued. With the unexpected help of an enigmatic elemental called Elise, you vanquished your foe. But before you could find your way back to your home, you and Elise were both sucked through a second shadow gate, which led to the Plane of Darkness, the fell domain of Na himself. In the throne hall of Na, a titanic struggle took place as you and Elise fought desperately to escape from the Dark God and his court of powerful minions. During this battle, you discovered that Na had in his possession the fabled Moonstone of the Xian Ti, a wondrous artifact created many thousands of years ago by the godlike Xian Ti, whose presence upon Magnamund had heralded the dawn of humanity. This stone of power contains the combined might of all their magic and wisdom, the sum of all their knowledge. So significant was the creation of this stone that all time on Magnamund is measured from the date of its creation. It has long been held that the Moonstone's location was a secret known only to the remnants of the Xi'an-Ti, who dwell upon the Isle of Lorn in remotest southern Magnamund. Yet the evidence of your eyes told you that the mystical artifact has somehow fallen into the hands of the Dark God. Suddenly, the significance of the Moonstone became clear. Na had been using its legendary powers to generate shadow gates within the world of Magnamund, at the locations and times of his choosing. Such power has enabled him to send loathsome champions to your homeworld, while the goodly forces of Kai and Ashir have held him at bay, helpless to counter this. Only you and your Kai brethren have stood in the way of the onslaught of Na's agents since the demise of the Dark Lords. During the battle, thanks to Elisa's selfless courage, you were able to escape from Na's throne hole by leaping into the Shadow Gate. As you entered its whirling maw, the last image that burned yourself into your memory was that of Elise slowly succumbing to the relentless attacks of Na's minions. Successfully, you had defeated Wolfsbane and thwarted Na's sinister plan to destroy the honor of the Kai. But as you returned through the Shadow Gate to the land of your birth, you knew that the fight against evil was not yet won. You realized that if you were to prevent the Dark God from sending more of his dread creations into Magnamund, you would have to return to the Plane of Darkness and retrieve the Moonstone. Only by doing so would Magnamund truly be free from the ravages of Na's armies and darkness. We get one last skill. Do we want Pathmanship? Resist entrapment by hostile plants, super awareness of ambush. Or the other kind of magic. Shield, Power Word, and Invisible Fist. I think the other kind of magic sounds better. We get one more weapon to master. Mace or broadsword. Mace. Okay, we can leave our items here. Potion, potion, potion. I love that we have so many potions. We've got 2 ropes. A naphtha bomb that we've never seen a use for. I mean, it's the last adventure, so I might as well just take things and accept that I might have to drop them. And we deposit a bit of money. Yes, I understand, but we may be forced to discard special items. RNG says, go back up to max money, pick up a potion, pick up a meal, pick up a meal, and another rope. You can never have too much rope as an explorer. As an adventurer, your journey through the Shadow Gate is a cold and lonely voyage, yet it is one that you endure without fear, for you sense that Elise is watching over you. She is using her powers to steer you safely home to Magnamund. As you hurtle through the timeless void, you remember vividly the last few moments preceding your leap into the Shadow Gate, and your triumphant escape from Na's throne hole, the innermost sanctum of his stronghold on the Plane of Darkness. You recall how Elise commanded you to flee while she drew away the frenzied attacks of Na's champion, Kekatag the Avenger. It was her selfless act of bravery which enabled you to escape, and it has left an indelible mark upon your conscience. Inspired by her courage and the realization that if the Dark God is to be stopped from sending more of his foul creations to Magnamund, you will have to destroy the fabled Moonstone of the Xi'an-Ti, you vow you will return to the Plane of Darkness, recapturing the precious Stone of Power. After what seems like an eternity, gradually the inky blackness of the abyss is illuminated by a fluorescent vapor, studded with whirling motes of light. Clumps of tiny stars swirl around your body like swarms of glowing moths. until you become completely cocooned within a shroud of blinding white luminescence. Then, quite suddenly, you feel solid ground once more beneath your feet, and you emerge from the light to find yourself standing in a dank subterranean vault. You cast your gaze around the mouldering walls of this dimly lit vault and feel a surge of joy and relief well up from the pit of your stomach. The dripping granite is cold and cheerless, but to your eyes, having witnessed the horrors of Nar's throne hole, the dank stone vault looks warm, welcoming, and reassuringly familiar. You have returned to the secret burial chamber below the necropolis of Tyso, the place from which you began your journey through the Shadowgate some time ago. With Elisa's help, you have arrived safely home to Summerland. No trace of the Shadowgate remains. It vanished the moment you emerged from the cocoon of light and took your first tentative steps into the vault. With eager anticipation, you leave the chamber and hurriedly ascend to the surface, where you are greeted by warm summer sunshine. The commander of Tyso is Baron Tormedda, and 2 of his stewards are dutifully guarding the gates to the city's necropolis. When they see you emerge from a mausoleum close by, their jaws drop open in amazement, as suddenly they recognize who you are from the cut and color of your Grand Master robes. Upon recovering their senses, the stewards volunteer to escort you directly to Baron Medda's castle. During the brief journey through the city, you are shocked to learn that a whole year has passed, since you entered the Shadowgate, even though the time that you spent on the plane of darkness seemed no more than a few days at most. Baron Medda is an old and trusted friend who welcomes your safe return to Tyso. Oh, you want me to turn down, you can turn down Rainy Mood a bit. There. During the brief journey through the city, you are shocked to learn that a whole year has passed since you entered the Shadowgate. Even though the time that you spent upon the plane of darkness seemed no more than a few days at most. Baron Medda is an old and trusted friend, and he welcomes you safely to Tyso with a show of great warmth and affection. It's now a cozy kind of rain instead of a worrying kind of rain. Having feared for the past year that you'd perished during the pursuit of Wolfsbane, he is clearly delighted to hear that not only have you survived your ordeal beyond the Shadowgate, but that you have vanquished the impostor. Naturally, you're anxious to return to your Kai brethren without delay, and Medda gladly offers you help. He gives you the finest horse in his stables and assigns a troop of his personal bodyguards to escort you swiftly across Summerland to the monastery. At the monastery, you receive a rapturous reception from the ranks of the Kai, for whom your return is a fulfillment of a year's hopes and prayers. Firestone, most senior of the New Order warriors, dispatches journeymen to carry word of your triumph to the king in Holmgard and to Guildmaster Bane, the leader of the Magicians' Guild in Tauren. Firestone has rightly assumed command during your absence, and, as he accompanies you through the grounds of the monastery to your vault below the Tower of the Sun, you commend him, on how well he has conducted his stewardship of the monastery and the training of the Kai in his charge. "Thank you, my lord," he says with praise, "yet truly I cannot lay claim to all the credit. My duties would have been far harder to fulfill had I not been receiving the aid of your wise advisors, Lord Ramoa and Lord Arden of Desi. These 2 Old Kingdom magicians, Lord Ramoa and Arden, greet you for a moment as you enter the vault. Ever since you disappeared into the Shadowgate, they have resided at the monastery so they could assist Firestone with the task of training the New Order Kai. We sense that you are still alive somewhere in the void beyond the universe of Aeon," says Ramoa, beaming delightedly, "but neither I nor Arden were able to discern precisely when you would return to Summerland. Come, Grand Master, tell us of your adventures beyond the Shadowgate." Eagerly they listen to your account of how you tracked and defeated Wolfsbane and escaped from the stone hall of the Dark God. but it is your surprise revelation that Na possesses the moonstone of the Xian Ti, which seems to fascinate and frighten them the most. This is grave news indeed, says Lord Ramoa, in a suddenly somber tone. The moonstone contains great power. It can create life, and it can destroy life utterly. If Na were able to fully harness its power, he could use it to destroy all life on Magnamund. I fear that it is just a matter of time before he fathoms its secrets. The moonstone was once a blessing for all the creatures of this world. In Na's hand, it could become the curse for us all. I, for one, shall not permit this, you state defiantly. I will find the means to return to the Plane of Darkness and retrieve the Moonstone. This I vow, for Summerland and the Kai, so long as I live. Na will never conquer Magnamund. Your courage is an inspiration to us all, Grand Master, says Lord Arden respectively. Aye, to us all, echoes Lord Ramoa, and be assured, Lone Wolf, soon you will have the opportunity to enact your pledge, for it is within our power to help you fulfill your vow. One sec. Lord Ramoa summons a meeting of a secret council at the Hall of the Magicians Guild in Tauren. The gathering is attended by Magnamund's wisest men, many of whom have aided you during your past. Among their number you recognize Guildmaster Bane, Gwinion the Sage, Baron Medar, several of Desi's High Council of Elders, and the inner circle of magicians of the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star. Under Ramoa's direction, these distinguished and gifted men deliberate how best they could help you retrieve the Moonstone from the Plane of Darkness. A Shadow Gate has long existed in the dungeons below the Guild Hall, and it is quickly established that the High Council of Elders can, by pooling their ancient skills, use this portal to convey you to Na's Forbidden Realm. The thought of journeying once more to the Plane of Darkness fills you with a sense of dread. Yet, this daunting voyage could prove to be one of the lesser perils you will have to face if you are to fulfill your vow. You are sorely aware that once you arrive on Na's domain, not only will you have to survive the attentions of his loathsome followers, but you must locate the Moonstone and return with it to your homeworld. The members of the Secret Council consider these problems at great length. Reassuringly, they are able to offer you some practical help in overcoming these troubles. You accompany the members of the Secret Council to the deepest chambers below the Guild Hall, wherein lies the Diazan Portal. It is a perpetual entrance to a Shadow Gate, and one of the only a handful that exist upon Magnamund. For many centuries, the magicians of Tauren have used this portal to banish criminals and traitors from Summerland, believing that it led to the limbo of deep space, from where there could be no escape. However, in recent years, their understanding of the portal has been greatly increased following your own journey through similar Shadow Gates. Inspired by your accounts of the planes of existence which lie beyond the material universe of Aeon, and by their own experimentation, the Brotherhood, magicians, and the Elders of the High Council of Desi have since been able to achieve limited control over the forces which exist within the supernatural portals. Using this newly acquired knowledge of the Shadow Gates, coupled with their powerful arcane lore, the council members begin preparation for a ritual which will culminate with you stepping into the Diazan portal. Ramoa oversees the drawing of an intricate pentagram upon the flagstone at the threshold of the portal, whilst Guildmaster Bane instructs his guildsmen in the recital of complex spell chants and the placing of magical artifacts at key points around the chamber. The preparations are painstaking and lengthy. During this period, you reflect on the quest you have vowed to undertake, and Lord Ramoa takes time to assure you of the vital importance of your mission. He also offers you some magical items, which could prove invaluable during your quest for the during your quest for the Moonstone. If you possess the Summer Sword, turn here. Ramoa ushers you into a refractory table at the entrance to the chamber, where Lord Arden is carefully arranging artifacts upon a sheet of scarlet silk, and he invites you to inspect the curious items. He glances at your sword belt, you sometimes skip a line to, and smiles when he sees the finely crafted hilt of the Summer Sword protruding from your scabbard. Well, I see that you'll have no need of weaponry, Grandmaster. Surely there can be no blade better suited to the slaying of the Dark God than the one you already possess, the Sword of the Sun. Aye, comments Arden, 'tis true. Your your divine sword can vanquish any of Na's creation. It may even possess enough power to smite the Dark God himself. Lord Arden's word lifts your spirits. It is comforting to hear that you possess at least one effective weapon against the horrors you will have to face during your quest for the Moonstone. It is a fine blade, Grandmaster, but be sure to use it with discretion. It was crafted upon the plane of light, and it radiates a strong, goodly aura. In Na's domain, its radiant energies will attract unwanted attention. And you point to your corallidium scabbard. But with respect to Lord Rimowa, the scabbard in which I carry it is woven from strands of pure corallidium. You lift the sword in its scabbard and invite Rimowa to inspect it closely. He steps forward and runs his eyes up and down the length of the sword's seemingly plain scabbard. Sagely, he nods his approval. Indeed, it is corallidium, and it will keep hidden the blade's true power from Na's foul spawn. Until the time comes when you decide to unleash that power against them. Your scabbard will shield your goodly blade. But what of yourself? You are imbued with Kai powers that may readily be detected. Your formidable skills may alert Na's minions to your presence. We also have a platinum amulet. You reach to your throat, unbutton the collar of your Kai robes, and withdraw the platinum amulet by its braided cord. Ah, I see that you already possess a sigil of power, says Lord Rimowa approvingly. It seems you're better prepared for the quest than we had anticipated. With a nod of his head, he motions to Lord Arden, who then retrieves an almost identical amulet from among the items on the table. He gives the amulet to Rimowa, and he slips it into his pocket. You will not be requiring this after all, but there is something which I'm sure you will find most useful, and I'm certain you haven't come across anything like it before. Once again, Rimowa motions to Arden, and the elderly wizard responds by taking up a small package that is wrapped in a silk handkerchief. Carefully, he unfolds the patterned silk square to reveal a book, bound in jet black hide. Tome of Darkness. Oh, you were skipping ahead, Salar. Naughty, naughty. A wave of nausea makes you swallow hard as your natural Kai instincts detect that the origins of this book are wholly evil. Arden offers it to you, and reluctantly you take it from him. It was discovered a decade ago in northern Desi. A party of our brethren found it on the Isle of Kor, buried in the ruins of Khazan Ode. Carefully, you open the stiff black cover, and to your surprise you discover that the inner pages comprise several sheets of pliable metal. They have the feel of parchment, but sparkle and glimmer like plates of polished steel. You turn through the pages and note that every one appears to be empty, devoid of script, pictures, diagrams of any sort. I don't see how this will help me, you say, as you flick back and forth through the seemingly empty pages. This is true while you're here in Summerland, but once you are on the plane of darkness, I suspect that its secrets will be revealed. We of the High Council believe it contains information about the many realms and territories within Na's domain. It may help guide you to your location of his throne hall, and with luck, to the moonstone of the Xian Ti. Though you are dubious as to the value of this item, in deference to Lord Rimowa's judgment, you take it. Record the Tome of Darkness as a special item. It doesn't take up a slot. Guildmaster Bane announces that the preparations are now complete. With mixed feelings of fear and exhilaration, you step into the center of the pentagram and stare resolutely into the inky black heart of the Diazan portal. The hypnotic chanting of the Brotherhood magicians rises in tempo, and you feel gusts of icy wind play upon your face. Then the elders of the High Council lend their voices to the sonorous chant, and suddenly the chill wind becomes a howling gale. Crackling arcs of energy leap from the edges of the pentagram and disappear into the core of the portal. Above the deafening roar, you hear Ramoa shouting an ancient phrase of power, and in one breathtaking instant, you are pulled off your feet and sucked into the whirling maw of the Shadowgate. If you have hunt mastery and are a high enough rank, turn here. As you tumble and spin through the void, you struggle to keep your eyes focused on the tiny mote of light which glimmers in the dark, immeasurable distance. You sense that your passage through the astral corridor is being guided by the concerted will of the council gathered at the entrance of the portal. Using their psychic powers, they are attempting to steer your body through a maze of channels that will lead towards this remote speck of light. Sensing this, you draw upon your improved Kai discipline and use it to aid the magician's efforts. By doing so, you're able to stabilize yourself and reduce the terrible fatigue of your journey. Gradually, the distant speck grows larger, until, with a sudden violent surge, you pass through its white-hot core and feel yourself engulfed by a damp, fetid atmosphere. Moments later, your journey ends abruptly, when you splash feet first into a swampy morass. Despite the speed of your impact, your natural balance and agility prevents you from plunging beneath the surface of the stinky swamp. After wiping away the slime that has splashed your face, you cast your gaze out across the vista of steaming mud pools, fringed with a dark jungle of vegetation. A cloying aura of evil permeates every part of this vile landscape, leaving you in no doubt that you've successfully arrived at your destination, the Plane of Darkness. You look up and scour the corpse-green skies, but dense clouds of acidic vapor hide all trace of the Shadowgate through which you entered the plane. Feeling suddenly vulnerable, standing waist-deep in steaming swamp mud, you decide to wade through the gooey sludge towards a nearby mound of barren grey earth. Once out of the mire, you rest on your haunches and consult the Tome of Darkness, given to you by Lord Ramoa. Its metallic pages appear to be as blank as when you first flicked through them, but then you turn to one page and it is different. Coloured designs have appeared, surrounded by a ragged text radiating a flickering spectrum of light. Using your Magna Kai discipline of pathmanship, you're able to decipher much of this arcane writing. The text tells of a creature called Nazakpok, Lord of the Mire, and of his throne of power, which is located on an islet at the mouth of the River of Flies. It describes the many vile deeds he has perpetrated for the cause of evil, for which he has been greatly rewarded by Na. The Dark God has granted him his own domain within the Plane of Darkness. It goes on to list the names of the creatures that are enslaved to him, but most interestingly it tells of a secret name, Kula, which can be used to bind him, and of an amulet which he possesses, which will enable one to leave his territory. You study the text for some time and conclude that the swamp must be part of Nazarpok's realm. The pages of the tome seem to hold the key to the hierarchy of the Plane of Darkness, and contain information that is needed to move from one domain to another. Unfortunately, not all of the book appears legible at any given time. You close the tome and slip it back into your pack. Your natural instincts tell you that the Moonstone is not to be found here in the swampland, and in view of what you have discovered, you decide that you must escape from here as soon as possible. However, if you were to do so successfully, you will first have to find Nazakpok, ruler of this domain, and take the amulet which he possesses. Suddenly, your sixth sense warns you that seemingly empty swamp harbors hidden enemies. They are distant, but they are drawing closer with every passing minute. You get to your feet and look for the best route away from the mound, but only two ways offer any promise. To the south, You see a shattered causeway of mouldering grey stones, and to the east you catch sight of a shallow ridge that barely breaks the surface of the swamp. So, rickety planks or small lump sticking out of the swamp. Rickety planks. The causeway comprises a procession of cracked grey blocks of stone, which cross the fetid land and trail away towards a tangle of jungle vegetation, which stretches across the horizon. In places, the mouldering pavement disappears completely beneath the surface, swallowed by the swamp. Yet the encroaching mud is shallow and doesn't hamper your progress too greatly. On either side of the swamp, you notice that there is an occasional spur of rock protruding through the mire. Then you see the apex of a stone roof and a broken spire, and suddenly you realize that they are segments of buildings. They are all that remain of an ancient city which is long since drowned beneath the swamp. The causeway is not a road at all. It is the remnants of a city's fortified wall. The cloudy green sky begins to darken, and you sense a storm approaching. Minutes later, a gentle rain begins to fall, which turns the surface of the swamp a milky shade of blue. You raise the hood of your cloak and press on, but suddenly you notice that your clothes are giving off wisps of smoke, where they have been splattered by the rain. This is not water, but corrosive acid. Your discipline of Nexus protects your flesh, but your clothing and equipment are vulnerable to its effect. Rather than risk losing them, you look around for some place to shelter. The only cover you are able to discern is a large mound of fallen stone slabs several hundred yards away. If you have pathmanship, turn here, else go here. You leave the causeway and advance through the knee-deep mire towards the shattered heap of grey stone slabs. Only moments before you reach the pile, you hear a buzzing sound which makes you freeze in your tracks. Through a gap in the stones, you see a host of winged insects swarming around a large pear-shaped hive. Glinting scarlet-tipped stingers protrude like small knives from their tails, leaving you in no doubt that these insects could prove deadly if provoked. You are about to turn back when they detect you and become angered. Moments later, the host of enraged insects comes pouring out of every gap in the rocks. If you have advanced invisibility, turn here. You draw on your Grand Mastery to summon a fog from the surrounding mire. Instantly, a bank of impregnable mist arises from the stagnant slime and engulfs your body, obscuring it from the sight of the attacking swarm. You hear them buzzing angrily in frustration, but then their noise gradually fades as they trail away in confusion across the swamp. You move forwards and emerge from the fog to find yourself standing beside the mound of the stone tablets. The hollow beneath the stones is now empty of insects, and so you squeeze yourself through a gap and take shelter from the rain. As you wait for the rain to abate, you inspect the inside of the hollow and the pendulous insect hive. Despite the seemingly haphazard lie of the stone slabs, the rain does not penetrate into the interior, and the inside of the hollow stays remarkably dry. On the ground lies a thick carpet of soft, leathery leaves. They are splattered with a yellow, honey-like substance oozing from the base of the hive. It smells sweet, but your Kai senses warn you not to taste it. It is poisonous. If you wish to take some anyway, mark it as an action item. Mung Tag Honey. You can wrap it in a leaf and store it in your backpack. Sure, I'll go down to 2 ropes. After this rope, and the other emergency rope, there's only one other emergency rope left. and grab the honey. You're busy cleaning the acidic rain from your equipment with a handful of leaves when suddenly your sixth sense warns you of an approaching danger. You peer out through a crack in the stones and catch sight of a flock of bat-winged creatures. They are swooping down from out of the rain towards your hiding place. If you've ever been to the ruins of Machen, turn here. The sight of the approaching creatures stirs distant memories of the Temple of Machen, the forbidden place which lies buried beneath the ruins of an old summer-lending city which teeters on the edge of the infamous Machen Gorge. These winged horrors are Demonax, a breed of vampiric predator who was originally spored by Lord Vashna, the first and mightiest of the Dark Lord leaders. You first encountered one of their kind at Machen, but now you face a flock of 20 such creatures. As they descend towards your hiding place, they give vent to a piercing wail, which makes your flesh crawl. The sound of their cries unsettles you, but the discomfort pales in comparison to the shock you experience upon seeing their response to the hideous cries. From out of the dark earth surrounding your hiding place, there arise monstrous shapes. Alien beings, long dead and buried, yet cruelly denied an eternal rest. Muddy tatters of flesh hang from the pitted skeletal frames, and from their skull mouths writhe wormy tongues riddled with decay. Numb with shock, you watch as this ghoulish legion draws itself to the surface and comes scrambling towards you, driven on by the hellish cries of the swooping flyers. Instinct and training trigger you to draw your weapon in readiness to meet the sickening corpse horde. Yet before they begin their attack, you're faced by the threat from another quarter. One of the flying creatures is circling above, clutching in its claws a length of chain to which is attached a smoking bundle. Suddenly, the creature dives out of the clouds and comes swooping down over the horde towards you. At the last minute, it pulls up to avoid crashing into the stone slab, and as it does so, it releases the chain. The bundle hits the soft ground and then bounces through the narrow entrance to your hiding place. Instantly, you are consumed by the acrid smoke which singes your eyes and threatens to close your throat. You sense at once that the smoke is a deadly poison, but fortunately your Magna Chi discipline of Nexus is sufficient to save you from a swift death. If you have Super Giga Nexus, turn here. One sec. The poisonous fumes irritate your eyes and throat. Your grand mastery saves you from suffering any lasting damage. You draw on your power of infravision to counter the blinding smoke, and once you're able to make out the leaders of the shambling legion, where once you were able to make out the leaders of the shambling legion, they're now just a few yards from entering the entrance. If you wish to attempt to escape before they block the entrance, turn here. If you choose to stand and fight, stand and deliver. The leading creatures snarl like ravenous wolves as they launch themselves at the entrance to your hiding place. You meet their attack with a flurry of lightning-fast blows, shattering skulls and sending them tumbling from their skeletal shoulders. Their twitching headless torsos crash to the ground. Yet more of their kind pour through the gap, and within seconds they're all over you. Claws and talons rake your arm and sides as desperately you fight to free yourself from this nightmarish legion. 45 skill, 37 health. Let's go dead enemy. Not even a scratch. I mean, literally a little bit of a scratch, but as the last of the ghoulish horde falls to your deadly blows, you leap over its shattered body and break into a run. Unfortunately, you don't get very far. A heavy weight hits you squarely in the back, knocking you to your knees. You struggle to regain your footing in the thick mud, but your efforts are thwarted when you are suddenly engulfed by a corpse rope No, a coarse rope net dropped from above. Frantically you scramble to untangle yourself, but a second net smothers the first and delays you long enough for a pair of winged flyers to land on your back and force you down. Then another two of the demonic flyers come to assist them. While you are being subdued, they hurriedly thread the ropes through the edges of the nets and hurl the loose ends to the others above. Then as one, the flock utters a chilling shriek of triumph. They're not a flock of otters. Your stomach churns and your heart pounds as you feel the net close and hoist you from the ground. Pick a number from the random number table. If the number is 0 to 4, you lose a backpack item. If the number is 5 to 9, your money pouch spills open. Oh no! Not my money! Through the crisscrossed ropes of your net prison, you see the surrounding flock. They are swooping and cawing delightedly like successful hunters returning home with captured prey. Above you, you make out the claws and leathery black bellies of the three-winged creatures hoisting you even higher into the rain-swept clouds. You are tempted to use your Kai powers to break free and slay your abductors, but a glance below at the rapidly receding ground is enough to dissuade you. Oh, come on, we have teleport, we have featherfall. We should be fine. For more than an hour, the flock transports you northwards through sickly green skies, hundreds of feet above a ceiling of storm clouds. Gradually, the cloud cover thins until you are able to note the swamp has given way to a tropical jungle, which is thinly veiled by swirling mist. A river snakes through the dense foliage, winding its way towards a coastline on the horizon. As you approach the distant sea, the river becomes wider and flows into the delta. Your captors follow the river and begin a slow descent to an islet on the eastern side of the delta, towards an area near its seaward shore. I mean, aren't all the shores going to be on the sea? That's like saying the east coast is closer than the west coast to the sea, when they're both, by definition, on the sea. Where the jungle has been hacked down to make room for a primitive settlement. As the flock encircles the settlement prior to landing, you're able to make out a cluster of strange-looking huts, seemingly constructed from the hides of reptiles and the bones of huge fish. In the middle of the huts, there is an expanse of cleared ground and a large circular pit. The shrieks of the flyers draw an expectant crowd, and a score of creatures of two distinct species. From the air, they resemble gigantic ants and deformed, pale-skinned humanoids. If you've ever visited the icy realm of Ixia, turn here. We have indeed defeated the Death Lord of Ixia. A feeling of dread makes your hands tremble the moment you catch a clear sight of the huge ant-like creatures. You have encountered the insectoids once before, although in a location which could not be more different from the humid jungle settlement into which you are now descending. They are Dentarg, giant, spindly-limbed insectoids who possess ghoulish heads implanted with evil composite eyes. They are an ancient breed, a cruel creation spawned by Gnar for the armies of the Death Lord of Ixia. It was in the Death Lord's frigid chamber atop the spire of Zagon that you last faced these terrible creatures, and you had your hopes then that your first encounter with them would also be your last. Fate, however, has decreed otherwise. Memories of your ordeal in Ixia suddenly come flooding back to haunt you. As you recall your previous encounter, you remember that these horrific beings possess strong psychic powers. Forewarned is forearmed, and you draw upon your mental defenses as your captors prepare to land with you inside the settlement. We have super mental defense. You use your advanced ability to form a mental shield around your mind as a defense against a possible psychic assault. The precaution, however, is soon proves to be a wise one, for as the net hits the ground, the Dentarg unleash a violent psychic attack in an attempt to weaken and subdue you. You feel the crushing power of the hostile mind force collide with the fabric of your consciousness like a tidal wave that leaves you reeling under its impact, yet your formidable defenses absorb and deflect most of the destructive energy, and you are able to survive the attack with no lasting damage to your psychic senses. Take 1 hit point damage, which we immediately get back because this was a book section. And we heal 1 every section. The net spills open as it touches the ground beside the yawning pit, enabling you quickly to disentangle yourself and unsheath a weapon. Freed from the net, but still trembling from the residual effects of psychic attack, you drop to one knee and steady yourself as you try to assess the situation. You look around for a way to escape from the alien settlement, but all you can see is a circling wall of hideous humanoid mutants and ant creatures. A tight wedge comprising a dozen of these creatures gibbers excitedly as it rushes forward with frightening speed. You attempt to stand and meet their attack, but they hit you before you are fully upright. And knock you headlong into the pit. Cursing your luck, you struggle to your feet among a deep carpet of bones and look up at the rim of the pit, some 15 feet above. An unbroken line of ghastly faces are shrieking and staring back at you with unconcealed glee. Suddenly, the faces fall silent and a gap appears in their ranks to allow access to their hideous leader. You swallow hard to suppress the rising nausea you feel upon seeing the creature's grotesque features. Its body resembles a huge, bloated bubble, endowed with a misshapen humanoid face, like that molded by a child from wet clay. Its pustulant, raw skin is studded with warts and tufts of rust-colored hair. Chuckling maniacally, it drags itself around the edge of the pit by means of 6 claw-tipped tentacles, and you note with disgust that it leaves a trail of steaming grey slime wherever it passes. Through its bulbous lip, there hangs a chain to which is attached an amulet, seemingly crafted of iron. You magnify your vision and see that an inscription on this crude amulet bears the name Nazapok. Instantly you recall the text of the Tome of Darkness, and realize that this creature must be Nazapok himself, the ruler of this territory within the realm of darkness. We get our pretty picture of Blob Man with his tentacles and making his slime, and the insect people. He opens his crooked mouth to reveal several rows of rotting, jagged teeth. Then words of the dark tongue rumble from his gullet to send shivers down your spine. You suspect that he is commanding his followers to slay you, and your worst fears are concerned when you witness spears being passed overhead to the front ranks of the Chaos Horde. The humanoids snatch them up with their twisted hands and raise them in readiness to hurl upon the word of command from their hellish leader. Yeah. If you possess mage magic and wish to use it, if you possess alchemy, or if you don't do both, we'll go with the mage magic. With your back pressed hard against the wall of the pit, you recite the Old Kingdom spell, Shield, as you draw a circle in the air directly above your head. Nazapok growls the order to his minions, and immediately they send a clattering deluge of spears raining down upon you. Most shatter as they hit the invisible barrier that you have created, but some ricochet off the pit wall, and sharp tips gorge your flesh. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have super hiding, add 2. We have not rolled very well. You wince as one spear tip gouges a channel of flesh from the back of your left thigh and another bites deep into your right shoulder. Fortunately, the pain soon recedes as your natural Kai curing skills act to staunch the bleeding. You have survived this first volley, but your ordeal is far from over. As soon as the front ranks hurl their spears, they retreat to let those behind them come forward and take their place at the rim of the pit. With cool defiance, you stare back at this new rank of mutants. This time you count more than 30 spears held ready to be hurled. Far more than you can hope to avoid at once, even with the aid of magic. Yet despite the overwhelming odds, you refuse to show this loathsome spawn any sign of weakness. You offer up a silent prayer to the god Kai to protect you, and suddenly you recall part of the script of the Tome of Darkness. It told you of a secret name that can bind Nazapok when spoken aloud. This name could be key to your survival. Yet you have no time left to retrieve the book from your backpack. If you were to use his secret name, you must try to recall it from memory. Was it Hulka, Kula, or Luca? I don't think it was Hulka. I think it was one of these. I think it was Kula. You shout the word Kula, and the effect is both immediate and electrifying. Nazapok freezes, as if he has suddenly turned to stone, and a sheen of grey ice appears on his foul-smelling, blubbery skin. Then the iron amulet hanging by a chain from his lower lip begins to pulse with an eerie green light. The Chaos Horde are at first stunned by their leader's transformation. Their shock rapidly becomes a blind panic, and they turn and flee, dropping their spears and trampling each other in a scramble to get out of the way. Swiftly, you climb the wall of the pit, and as you pull yourself over the edge, you see the mass of humanoids and ant creatures swarming across a bridge which leads to a neighboring delta island. Once the last few are across, a rope is pulled, and the middle section of the bridge drops away into the river to prevent you from chasing them. Confident that the Horde no longer possesses any threat, you return your gaze to its frozen leader, Nazapok, who is completely immobile except for his eyes that blaze with a potent mix of fear and hatred. You sense that this once all-powerful being is terrified that you will enact revenge upon his helpless body. How about we yoink his amulet, because we were told we need it to get out of the area. You hook a link of the chain upon the tip of your weapon, and wrench the amulet free from his frozen lip. The amulet ceases to glow the moment it is cut free, and you sense that it is now safe to touch. When you pick it up, you notice that on the facing side is engraved Nazapok's name, and on the reverse side you discover a runic number. Record the amulet on your action chart. It's a special item. The runic number on the reverse side is 6. Make a note. Sure. Notepad. Other side of amulet equals runic number 6. Done. You hurry away along a track that winds through the settlement of huts and down to a beach covered with coarse black sand. Here, a ramshackle jetty constructed from wooden bone protrudes from the lee of the sand dune and out onto the sluggish grey sea. Fringing? Fringing the beach is dense jungle from where there suddenly arises a cacophony of hellish cries. You glimpse shadows moving in the undergrowth, and when you stop momentarily to take a longer look, several arrows come shooting out of the trees. They arc towards you and explode when they hit the sand close by. Your Kai senses warn you that there are a great number of archers lurking in the jungle, more than you could ever hope to defeat single-handedly. Anxious to escape while you are still able, you hurry down the beach to the jetty where you discover a sea-going canoe. Without daring to look back, you leap into the canoe, cast off its mooring rope, and paddle as fast as you can away from the shore. Once you feel sure that you are beyond arrow range, you attempt to follow the coastline in hopes of finding a safer place to put ashore. But a mist sweeps across the water and engulfs your tiny craft before you could change course. The mist thickens rapidly to become a dense sea fog, the likes of which you have never experienced. Despite your advanced Kai skills, you're unable to see through it and quickly lose sense of time and direction. After what seems like many hours, you eventually catch sight of a dark shape low in the water, which at first appears to be a distant island. You paddle towards it, but as you draw closer, you sense that it is not what it seems. Then you feel a warm glow radiating from the pocket of your robe, and discover that it is Nazepok's amulet. Carefully you remove it, and, guided purely by instinct, hold the glowing disc of iron above your head. In the distance, you can hear the sound effect of rushing water. Which is followed by an incredible sight. The island is sinking slowly into the sea. In less than a minute, it has completely disappeared without trace. The amulet no longer glows, and you slip it back into your pocket before continuing your eerie voyage across the uncharted ocean. Perhaps some more sugar water. Gradually, the sea mist clears, and you catch sight of land on the horizon. Your senses tingle with expectation, for you have now entered a new realm of the Plane of Darkness, and you are aware of several dramatic changes to your immediate surroundings. The sluggish grey sea has become a muddy brown sludge that clings to your paddle like marsh slime. Every time you break the crusty surface, a cloud of tiny black insects erupts from the slime and soars into the warm, fetid air. God, that sounds icky. The sky above is no longer green. It is a bilious yellow and streaked with high clouds that flash intermittently with sheet lightning. Despite the glue-like consistency of the ocean, you detect a strong tidal... Oh no. Beware the strong undertow. Those of us who are used to questing as a king will, of course, beware the strong undertow. Rather than fighting it, you decide to cease paddling and allow it to carry you towards the distant shore. While you wait for the current to do its work, you retrieve the Tome of Darkness from your backpack and turn through its pages in hope of learning some of the secrets of this new, foul-smelling realm. The page that revealed to you the information about Nazepok's realm is now blank, but the one following it has changed in both color and texture. Lines of spidery writing have appeared on a page that now looks and feels like cured animal hide. I thought before they were metal. Once again, using your Magna Chi discipline of pathmanship, you're able to decipher much of this arcane text. The writings tell of two powerful beings, called Kunai, the Lords of Decay, and of their throne of power. Of the Kunai, not one is called Kunai. The Kunai, which is located upon the rotting corpse of Gandeza, the worm of Neiros. You scan the page, passing over a long list of vile deeds that have earned the Kunai the right to rule their ignoble realm. While you come to the part which details the secret names which combined them, the names are... Let's write these down this time, because last time I barely managed to remember and not have to start the whole book again. Jan Tur and Runadan. The text instructs those that would use these names in the presence of the Kunai to exercise a great caution. For if the name that is spoken is not directed at the correct Lord of Decay, the evocator will sacrifice his body and soul and be enslaved to the Kunai forever, upon the realm of putrefaction. The text gives no indication as to how one might identify them, and doesn't state how and when their secret names should be used to bind them. Yet, it does state that in order to leave their realm, you must possess a ring of power, one of two such rings which exist and are worn upon the first fingers of the right hands of the Kunai. 2 rings of power for the Kunai, Lords of Decay, and their throne of power. You close the tome and stow it in your backpack. Time has passed rapidly while you were consulting the book, and your canoe is now only a few hundred yards from shore. Directly ahead you see the estuary of a river, and away to your left you notice a stony beach which gently ascends to a forest of grey-green trees. If you want to paddle your canoe into the estuary river, go here. If you want to get out of the canoe and explore the forest, let's paddle up the river on our canoe. You work the turgid water with your paddle and enter the sluggish tidal flow of the estuary. Warily you scan the jungle which fringes both banks of this wide river mouth, your eyes peeled for signs of danger. You sense the presence of hostile creatures, yet, even with your advanced Kai skills, you can detect no evidence that the territory is inhabited. You've progressed more than a mile up the river when you notice the jungle on the left bank is receding, leaving an empty expanse of marshy ground dotted with shrubs and sparse vegetation. You bring the canoe towards this bank, where it grounds in the shallows less than 20 feet from the muddy shore. Not wishing to get any muddier than is necessary, you leap from the canoe towards the grassy bank, but land somewhat short. To your dismay, you immediately sink up to your knees in the soft, sludgy mire. Suddenly, you hear the sound of churning water. You glance behind and are horrified to see 3 large, spider-like monstrosities rising up from out of the murky water, at the rear of the canoe. They are the size of large dogs, and their bulbous bodies are covered with short, stubbly hair. Spiders the size of dogs. With unnerving strength, they creep across the mud and attack with their barbed forelegs and needle-sharp teeth. If you have hunt mastery and a high enough rank, and wish to use the skill, turn here. If you have spirit walking and are this rank, and wish to use the skill, turn here. If you have magic and wish to use it, if you have a bow and wish to use it, if you have none of these, do not wish to use them, or haven't achieved the required level, go here. So which of these is higher? Grand Guardian, Sunlord. We'll go for whichever option uses the higher rank of... Sunlord is above everything except Sun, Thane, and Grand Crown. So this one seems the best one. You attempt to use your improved Kai discipline to alter your weight and free yourself from the cloying mud. Pick a number from the random number table. If your total health at the moment is less than 12, subtract 2. We roll well. The moment you reach firm ground, you sprint headlong across the clearing towards the distant jungle perimeter. At first, the giant arachnids give chase, but they prove themselves to not be as agile on dry land, and you are soon able to outdistance them and escape. Upon entering the jungle perimeter, you force your way through dense foliage and soon discover the remnants of a trail, which you follow for nearly a mile until you arrive at the edge of a second clearing. Is this Aeon? We are in the realm of darkness, Lauren. The plane of darkness. This area of leveled ground is devoid of foliage, yet it is littered with strange fruits which resemble gigantic grey pineapples. Beyond the curious fruits, you can see the ruins of a settlement partially overgrown with moss. Warily, you leave the jungle, make your way around the fruits, and hurry across the clearing towards a statue, which is crouching among the ruins. Are we playing on Project Aeon? We are using Lone Wolf Saga, which is a mobile platform adaptation, Lauren. So you can get this from the Google Play Store. I don't know if it's also on Apple, but I know it's on. I know it's on like Android, Google Play sort of thing. We're playing it on a simulated phone. On entering the jungle perimeter, you force your way through dense foliage and soon discover the remnants of a trail. Blah blah blah, the giant pineapples. Beyond these curious fruits, you can see the ruins of a settlement partially overgrown with moss. Warily, you leave the jungle, make your way around the fruits, and hurry across the clearing towards a statue, which is crouching among the ruins. It is constructed of a smooth, lustrous black mineral, and is fashioned in the likeness of some evil beast of prey. It reminds you of a hyena, but one with a massive lower jaw set with a pair of saber-toothed fangs. Project Aeon is a website that has the books in a web page format, and you haven't been there in a long time, so you weren't sure what it looks like now. Yeah, I don't know either. The nice thing about this compared to like the physical book or what I have seen before where they have just been essentially like links to PDF versions of the books, is that this automatically does all your combat rolls, it digitally does all of your inventory tracking, it continually and automatically tracks our health, and every time we click next page it does the whole gain of health because we have healing. Like, it does all of this automatically, and it's nice and convenient, and you don't need hundreds of pieces of scrap paper where you've said, my health has gone down by 2 points. Oh, we've turned a page. Now my health has gone up by 1 point. We've turned a page. Now my health has gone up by 1 point. Etc., etc. It does all this nice and neatly. Like, yeah, if you want something to play as a little phone game while you wait for the bus or catch a train or something, I would, and you enjoyed the books before or think you'd enjoy them now, I would suggest revisiting this with Lone Wolf Saga. It is constructed of a smooth, lustrous black material and is fashioned in the likeness of some evil beast of prey. It reminds you of a hyena, but with a pair of saber-toothed fangs. Between its forelegs is a flight of rubble-strewn steps, leading down to an open door. You detect waves of power emanating from somewhere beyond this darkened doorway, but you are unable to determine just how deep below the ground the source of the energy is located. If you have spirit walking and wish to spirit walk your way through, sure. You crouch down among the mossy boulders directly opposite the stairwell. Using your grand mastery, you let yourself slip into a trance-like state that allows your conscious mind to leave your corporeal body. You continue to see your surroundings as they appear to your physical eyes. Beg pardon. But now you are able to transport yourself freely through the air like a bird. You glide towards the statue and swoop down through the open portal, pausing momentarily to scan your surroundings for hidden traps. Detecting none, you continue deeper into the dark... Goddamn hiccups. Into the darkness of this alien edifice. Let's have 7 sips of water. A wide stone ramp descends to a sealed portal which is engraved with runes. You cannot immediately decipher them, but you sense that they are evil in design and possess some destructive power locked within their jagged forms. Then, the sound of a growl above and far away makes you suddenly fearful for the safety of your physical body. And so you leave the portal and ascend rapidly to where you rejoin your dormant form. Unless you have attained the Kai rank of Sunlord or higher, you lose 2 endurance points due to the haste with which you have returned to your corporeal body. Having already reconnoitred your entrance to your satisfaction, you are able to descend the steps and enter the base of the statue with confidence. You follow the stone ramp down to the sealed portal, where you carefully examine the runes which cover every square inch of its surface. You begin to fathom some of their secrets when suddenly you hear a noise above and behind you. Instantly, you spin on your heel and reach for your weapon, but the outline that you see silhouetted in the archway at the top of the ramp is so shocking that you are unable to close your trembling hand upon it. Framed in the archway is a snarling, saber-toothed beast with eyes that radiate darkness, like 2 dull, satanic orbs. It is hyena-like, and its hunched shoulders and shaggy mane lend it an uncanny resemblance to the statue which sits atop this subterranean vault. Vile saliva drips from its fangs and snout, and an evil sound, part snickering, part bubbling, issues from its massive jaw. Slowly and deliberately, it descends the ramp towards you. As it moves, you notice that the ribs of its great frame are showing through its furry hide, giving it an emaciated appearance. You detect that it is starving, and it sees you as an answer to its gnawing hunger. We picked up the honey earlier, so honey. The creature is halfway down the ramp when it pauses to sniff the cool air. With a snickering sound, it crinkles back its snout and allows a stream of saliva to trickle freely from its quavering jaw. In the present state of ravenous hunger, it has detected the aroma of something that it finds even more enticing than your own human flesh. Muntag honey. You sense the cause of its sudden delirium, and hurriedly, you retrieve from your backpack the package of leaves which contains the honey. The beast lets out a desperate howl, and quickly you hurl the package towards the entrance, to prevent it from leaping wildly upon you. As the beast scrambles up the ramp, you turn your attention to the portal, and attempt to find a way to open it. Using your advanced Kai skills, you are able to decipher enough of the runic text to discover a secret code that keeps it secure. Confidently, you press the section of the surface, and it moves inwards with an audible plunk. Moments later, the portal creaks open, and you hurry through, slamming it shut behind you to prevent the ravenous beast from following. There we go. Lose 1 endurance point, and it's automatically lost us an endurance point. The moment you pass through the portal, you are assailed by an overwhelming odor of decay. The vile stench of putrefaction has been ever present since you landed upon the shores of this unwholesome realm. But the reek that occupies the chamber you have now entered is immeasurably worse. Your innate discipline of Nexus protects you from the harmful effects of the diseased odor, yet even so you feel nauseous and heavy-headed. The walls drip with a yellow slime that radiates a dim phosphorescence by which you can see an open archway in the far wall. Eager to escape from this stench-filled chamber, you enter and explore a tunnel which lies beyond the archway. Unfortunately, the stench is no better here. In fact, the further you explore the twisting passageway, the worse it becomes. Yet you press on regardless, allowing your instincts and your Kai senses to guide you to the source of the alien power that lies within this foul lair. The tunnel continues for more than a mile, descending deeper by ramp and stair until it arrives at a vast circular chamber. Here you discover a huge door fashioned from a strange, shimmering green metal. Runes adorn its carved panels, mirroring those that are engraved in a large circle in the center of the stone floor. If you have ever visited Mogaruith in a previous Lone Wolf adventure, we have, the circular hall is chillingly familiar. although you are sure that you have never been here before. Then a cold shiver runs down your spine when you recall where it was that you saw a chamber and ruins uncannily similar to these. It was in Mogaruith, in the chamber of the Archdruid Kadak's throne hall. You magnify your vision and focus on the runes that decorate the floor. They are similar to those that you encountered on the portal to this subterranean labyrinth, and you feel your pulse quicken when you are slowly able to decipher part of their meaning. Ye who seek entry to the hall of the Kune, renounce all falsehood and trickery, for thou art transparent beneath our gaze. Pay homage to the lords of decay, lest thy soul be devoured by an insatiable horde of Nemagog. Place gold within the circle for thy wish to be fulfilled. Base metal without for thy fate to be sealed. With great caution you cross the floor of the chamber and examine the engraved surface of the portal. After a gentle push confirms that the door is locked. You were hoping the runes which cover the great metal portal would reveal how it might be opened, but to your dismay, they merely catalogue in sickening detail the evil accomplishments of the Kune. Then you discover 3 small slots, one circular, one square, and one triangular in shape. Now earlier we rolled on that falling table thing when we were falling, and where's our money one? Here. We lost all our gold crowns, but didn't have to lose something from our backpack, and it looks like we would have preferred the other option. So we have no gold crowns. Moving as close to the door as you dare, you carefully examine the 3 small openings, and see that there are narrow chutes at the rear of each slot, which drop to the base of the door. Your sixth sense warns you... Your sixth sense warns you that a powerful magical energy is present at the base of the portal, an energy that could prove dangerous if the door is forced or tampered with. If you possess alchemy, go here. Having determined that the force protecting the door is magical, you decide to cast the Brotherhood spell Counterspell upon it to attempt to cancel its effects. Pick a number from the random number table. If your endurance is 20 or higher, add 1. For every rank above Sunthane, add 1. We roll 5, and we, between having high health and being a high enough rank, get to 7. You sense a sorcerous resistance to your counterspell, but the power of your magic proves strong enough to overcome the reaction. There's a sharp crackling noise, and spiders of fiery blue electrical arcing appear all around the circular slot. They flicker and fade, and you suddenly hear another sound. A grating squeal. Anxiously, you watch as the great portal slowly swings open. So we get through that check by the skin of our teeth. The portal opens into a vaulted corridor lined with wall paintings that exude an aura of evil. This procession of gaudy murals depicts nightmarish scenes. Diseased creatures, alien landscapes blighted with pestilence, hosts of larvae, writhing in awful triumph over the goodly forces of Kai and Ashir. This macabre celebration of decay fills you with revulsion, yet it pales in comparison to the sight waiting you at the corridor's end. Beyond the corridor lies a vast chamber, rough-hewn from the bedrock of this rotting land. The decomposing carcass of a giant reptile rests upon the floor, which shimmers in the eerie yellow half-light. Bile rises in your throat when suddenly you realize why the floor is shimmering. It is carpeted with a seething sea of maggots. Gagging with fear and nausea, you snatch your cloak to your mouth and steady yourself, against a pillar as you survey the ghastly hole. Mounted upon the broken back of the great reptilian carcass are 2 throne-like chairs carved from black wood. Between and below them, lying deep within the creature's exposed ribcage, is a dark semicircular shadow, which resembles the entrance to a cave. Drawing upon your discipline of divination, you scan the hole and quickly determine that all is not what it seems. You detect the presence of 3 powerful entities protected by spells of illusion and invisibility. You feel sure that 2 of them are the Kunai, the rulers of this hellish domain, though the 3rd eludes you. Its aura is oddly familiar, yet you cannot determine its location or identity. If you ever visit Mogaruith, Kag, or Helgor, turn here. Oh, not Kadak again. Suddenly you fathom the identity of the 3rd spirit occupying this hole. It is Kadak, the arch-druid of the Senarese, sworn enemy of the Kai, and all who ally themselves to the cause of good. His body was destroyed on Magnemon 5 years ago, but his spirit survives here in this reeking hall, bound in eternal service to the Lords of Decay. How many times do we have to beat him? Your heart pounds as you witness a swirling, ghostly, gossamer shape arise from the hollow ribcage of the carcass, and snake towards you like a vampiric mist. As it draws closer, you hear the chilling voice of Kadak invading your mind. From beyond death, the powers of decay grant me revenge, Lone Wolf. If you have supermental defense, turn here. The swirling spirit of Kadak condenses and shapes itself into a column of flickering light. It now resembles a large candle flame, but one that radiates an icy coldness. Within this chill flame, you see Kadak's evil eyes glowing hypnotically. You draw on your psychic defenses to shield yourself from the imminent attack, and moments later you feel pulses of energy bombarding the wall that you've erected around your mind. You sense that your speedy and successful defense has greatly weakened your enemy. You are about to turn the tables by launching a counterattack, when suddenly you hear something unexpected. "Spare me and forgive me," said Lone Wolf, pleads Kadak's plaintive voice. "I renounce my evil past. Forgive me so that my death may free my soul from the slavery of evil. Grant me this salvation and I will help you to escape the realm of the Kunai." The host of maggots carpeting the floor of this foul hall suddenly recede like an ebb tide. As they retreat, a glowing ring is revealed lying on the slime-smeared ground. "Take the ring, and grant me your forgiveness. With the ring, the way is clear for you to leave the hall." Beyond the flame-like spirit of Kadak, you see the rotting ribcage of the carcass. The semicircular shadow that occupies it, now pulsing with a warm amber light. And here we have weird options. So if you agree to forgive him and wish to pick up the ring, if you refuse to forgive him and decide to not pick up the ring, but where's the agree to forgive him but don't pick up the ring? Or pick up the ring but don't forgive him? Because that's what I want to do. I want to forgive him and put him out of his misery, but I also don't necessarily trust him about the ring. So I'm mostly doing this for the, to be clear, the agree to forgive him bit. I don't necessarily... Yeah, you instantly die. The instant you touch the ring, it transforms into the mouth of a huge, scaly worm. Your whole hand and forearm disappear into its fanged-filled maw. And before you can save yourself, it snaps shut. Its powerful jaws, red-hot agony, engulfs your arm and sears your senses. Instinctively, you pull away, and to your horror, you fall backwards with blood spilling freely from your severed limb. Kadak's malicious laughter fills your ears as, in a swirl of pain and confusion, you feel the numbing chill of shock begin to fill you with a deadly lethargy. Seated upon the 2 throne-like seats, which adorn the great carcass, appear the ghastly forms of the Kunai, the Lords of Decay. Their braying laughter echoes Kadak's vicious howl. They're clearly delighted by his use of base trickery to defeat you. Tragically, this awful sound is the last that you will ever hear. You've allowed yourself to be deceived by the spirit of the Archdruid and have paid the ultimate price. In a moment of sheer terror, the Kunai focus their terrible powers of disease and decay and turn them upon you, consigning you swiftly to oblivion. Your life and your quest end here. Rip. Death go up to 41. And I would complain more, but I did just say I wanted to, yes, put him out his misery, but no, not trust him about the ring, and there was no option for that. So, what you gonna do? So, we know the sequence. Introduction. We said yes to this, yes to this. Come on. We're happy with all the stuff we have. We wanted meal, rope, potion. Let's go. Basically just work our way back to the same point. So, here's what your quest will be. We have the Summer Sword, we have the Colinium Scabbard, we have a Platinum Amulet. We have the Advanced Hunt Mastery, so we can help them with the pushing us through the Shadow Gate. Now we'll go the other way this time. Investigate the ridge instead of the causeway. The ridge leads you more than a mile into this unwholesome morass, yet you encounter no sign of animal life. A strange quietness overhangs the swamp, an eerie calm that accentuates the aura of evil that is radiating from every rock and murky pool. As you press on, the cloudy green sky begins to darken and you sense a storm approaching. Minutes later, a gentle rain begins to fall, which turns the surface of the swamp a milky blue. You raise your hood of your cloak and continue, but suddenly you notice that your clothes are giving off wisps of smoke. Okay, so this is the acid rain. There's a hut. We can use Spirit Walk. Don't touch the ground. There's a radiant gem the size of a walnut. This is a blue diamond. Sure, we'll keep it. And then there's a bunch of creatures. We've been to the ruins of Macken. So we've rejoined the other path. They drop the bundle of sticks. We have super immunity to poisonous fumes. We chose to fight the zombie things. I will choose to fight them again. Very good. We will lose rope. We didn't lose our money this time, so we might get to see what the money outcome of the 3-slot thing is. Here's, what's his name? I forget, Nzapok. Now I think last time we used Magic. What if we use Kai Alchemy? We use the spell Invisible Shield. This time we are less wounded by the thrown spears. His name was Kula. What if we try and kill him? You stride towards Nazapok and raise your weapon, grimly determined to rid the universe of the foul creature. So perish all spawn of evil, you cry, and with one swift and mighty blow you sunder his ghastly body in two. From the torn halves of his carcass there is an eruption of putrid gas that makes you reel backwards and cover your mouth and nose. The gas dissipates, and in a matter of seconds the remains of Nazapok and his amulet have turned to dust. A collective cry of horror rises from the distant horde the moment you slay their master. Fearing that the destruction of their leader will spurn them to seek revenge, you hurry away and along a track that winds through the settlement of huts down to a beach covered in coarse black sand. There's a jetty, so that's about the same. People shoot at you. This is all the same. But instead, some sort of kraken monster destroys us on the ocean? Yeah, that one's a bit more of a... Well, we have another death, so I gotta update our death counter. I didn't think that that would kill us. I genuinely didn't think, like... I thought picking up the ring would kill us, potentially. I did not think that destroying Nazapok, or whatever his name is again, was gonna kill us. Potion, rope, meal. So once again, here's the plan. I have the summer sword. I have the scabbard. I have a platinum amulet. We get the Book of Evil. We help them direct us through the portal. We now know that it doesn't matter which way we go here, it quickly joins up anyway. Take the honey in exchange for a meal. Here are the little impling things. We have immunity to poison and fire. You may steal one of my ropes. We have been to Ixia. We do have magic. The insects don't do anything nasty to us. They shuck us in the pit. We now know that both of these basically just do shield. His name was Klua. We do take his amulet, which provides safe passage out. I don't see why killing him wouldn't lead to us then taking the amulet, but whatever. It feels a bit odd, that other choice's outcome. Last time we went through the river estuary, so this time we'll go through the forest. The canoe grounds on a submerged boulder a few dozen yards from the beach, forcing you to abandon the craft and wade ashore. You soon discover that the stones littering the beach are slick with an oily residue. Your natural agility overcomes the obstacle, but the slippery surface makes it difficult for you to reach the cover of the distant tree line as swiftly as you would like. As you draw near to the perimeter of the trees, you pause for a moment to scan the dark jungle undergrowth. Long streamers of moss-encrusted vines hang from the trees, draping themselves limply over every rock and bough, and a tangled mass of interwoven creepers and low-spreading branches forms a blanket canopy which keeps much of the forest floor in semi-darkness. As you stare into the damp, shadowy foliage, you feel a growing sense of unease. You don't have the invulnerability to ambush, So you explore the perimeter of the undergrowth. Cautiously you advance along the overgrown trail, but soon you are forced to a halt by a thick curtain of hanging vines. We do have an edged weapon. We can cut through the vines. You are about to cut your way through when you notice something odd. Each creeper is trembling, as if it is shivering with cold or fear. You draw back your weapon and take careful aim before striking your first blow, which severs 3 of them. As if in response to your attack, the hanging creepers suddenly rise up and flail the air. They lash out at you with a stunning ferocity, forcing you to retreat along the trail from their stinging blows. With mounting dread, you realize the vines are not plants, but they are a hostile, living creature. Beneath the coating of moss that sheathes them are hundreds of tiny hollow barbs, each capable of ripping flesh to shreds. One passes close to your face, and you strike out at it, cutting it in half. It emits a high-pitched squeal as it recoils, trailing a spray of sticky green slime from its sundered tip. As if enraged by their companion's cry of pain, the other vines come snaking towards you with an increased tenacity. Okay, destroy the plant thing. And one more round? One more round? So it did like 1/6 of our health. The few remaining vines that survive your deadly blows rapidly disappear into the canopy, and within seconds of your victory, the jungle becomes deadly silent once more. You wipe your weapon against the trunk of a tree and remove the worst of the foul-smelling ichor, and then you move back along the trail towards the beach. However, when you reach the edge of the trees, you see a patrol of scaly winged reptiles swooping and gliding along the rocky shoreline. They have discovered the remains of the canoe and are searching the beach for signs of survivors. Rather than risk being spotted by the vicious-looking creatures, you stay hidden beneath the jungle canopy and return once more along the trail. And then eventually we find the same sinking tomb to the doggo. We spirit walk through, we find out about the trap, we have the honey for the doggo, we have visited Mogaruith, but this time we do possess crowns. From the runic inscription on the floor, you suspect that the portal may be opened by using a piece of gold. Taking a gold crown from your belt, you examine the 3 slots, using your Kai senses to help you choose which one you should place your coin. Your senses can only detect a powerful magical energy that is present. I mean, a circle seems sensible. The portal opens into a vaulted corridor lined with wall... No, so we know about this. We know about Mogaruith. It is Kadak, the Archdruid. We screen our mind. We do not forgive him. I still hold that I want to forgive him but not take the ring. You are wise to not trust Kadak's penitent pleas for forgiveness, for it is a trick. Sensing that you have seen through his charade, his spirit entity becomes enraged. It howls a curse, and the ring instantly transforms into a huge, scaly worm. This creature has no eyes, but does possess a large mouth, packed with razor-sharp fangs. It snaps repeatedly like an angry dog. You draw and raise your weapon, and in the space of a heartbeat, you deal the worm a mighty blow, which splits it open from mouth to tail. Kadak's spirit emits a hideous scream, as if the destruction of the worm has wounded him deeply. Rapidly, the spirit form fades until all that is left is an echo of his plaintive cry of pain and frustration. Invigorated by your victory, you now turn your attention to the huge carcass dominating the hall. You are determined to find a way out, and feel sure the answer lies somewhere here. You are advancing towards these huge rotting remains when a new and sinister threat to your life materializes. Seated on the two throne-like chairs perched upon the back of the rotting carcass, appear the ghastly forms of the Kunai, the Lords of Decay. They are a hideous sight, and your stomach churns with revulsion as you struggle to comprehend their abominable manifestation. Their torsos resemble two mounds of glistening black jelly, studded with polyps and ulcers, and sores that exude a noxious grey slime. They have flat heads that are oval-shaped and shell-like. Okay. So they look like Slowbro's tail. Like the shoulder on Slowbro's tail. With puckered mouths and indented eye slits that radiate an evil yellow light. From their rubbery sides protrude two snaky limbs ending in three-fingered hands, coloured a sickly, leprous green-grey. Fixed upon the first fingers of their right hands are the rings of gleaming gold that are exquisitely crafted and embellished with intricate patterns. These rings are exceptionally beautiful, and seem glaringly out of place upon the fingers of these grotesque beings. As you stare at the rings, you recall the text of the Tome of Darkness and its instruction that if you are to leave the rotting domain, you must obtain one of the rings. Your sixth sense confirms that these are indeed the ring, and the tunnel-like openings in the body of the carcass is the exit of the realm. You sense also that the Kunai are communicating with each other telepathically. Their eyes glow with increasing intensity, and you fear that they are getting ready to launch a magical attack. If you have advanced hiding in which to use it, if you have the summer sword in which to use it... Is that the vampire sword? That might be the vampire sword. I forget the vampire sword's name. We'll go with the summer sword. Oh. Those heads don't look shell-like to me, but okay. You draw your sword and sense at once that its mere physical presence within the throne room is causing them a great deal of discomfort. You detect a surge of anxiety in their mental communication. The creature seated upon the left throne becomes agitated and begins to flail the foul air with its snaky limbs. Then it utters a sinister command to its partner, and you hear the words echo in your mind. Slay him, Jantor. Okay, so left throne. So right throne equals Jantor. The creature seated on the right throne responds immediately. It raises its right limb, and a gout of fire shoots from the palm of its leprous hand. Deflect it with the blade of our sword. You strike out at the onrushing column of fire, and it connects with the flat of your magical blade. There is a terrifying flash of blinding gold light, and you feel an electrifying jolt that sets every nerve of your body jangling. You follow through with your blow and send the fireball, essentially, rebounding from your blade to slam into the rear wall, where it dissipates harmlessly on the surface. Aware now that the Lord of Decay seated on the right-hand throne is Jantor, yep, I agree, you shout his secret name, and immediately he becomes immobile. The sight of his frozen form and the sudden cessation of mind contact throws his brother Lord into a state of panic and confusion. In a blind rage, he utters a curse, and, to your horror, you see the maggot swarm emerge from the shadowy recesses of the hall. As the larvae writhe towards you, they begin to swell grotesquely in size. If you are to save yourself from the monstrous horde, you must quickly use the secret name of the remaining Kunai. But there is no time to consult the book. His secret name was Runadan. This one. You shout the name Runadan, and the remaining Kunai immediately ceases to move. All trace of psychic energy vanish, and its flailing limbs become frozen in midair, lending it the semblance of a petrified tree. The advancing hordes of maggots rapidly shrink to their former size and retreat before you, seeking the safety of the hall's furthest... Oh no, retreat before you, seeking the safety of the hall's furthest corners. The power which drove them and caused them to mutate has suddenly disappeared, and they are thrown into chaos. You stride towards the carcass and swallow hard. as you step through the ancient rotting remains that ooze from its ribs. You raise your weapon and with one swift blow sever the fingers of the Kune's right hand and quickly retrieve a gold ring. Suddenly, the squeal of hinges draws your attention to the great portal on the far side of the hall. It swings open to reveal an angry horde of corpse creatures which stagger into the chamber and come surging towards the carcass. They are the Dregants, a decomposing army of humanoids enslaved to the Kune. They have sensed their ruler's plight and have flooded here in their hundreds to protect them. Desperate to escape the ghoulish host, you turn and leap, feet first, into the cave-like hole that occupies the belly of the carcass. We've gained a ring. Upon entering the tunnel, the ground disappears beneath your feet, and you begin to fall through darkness towards a pale speck of greyish light far below. You are gripped instantly by the fear that you have unwittingly stepped into a deep pit, yet your descent is uncannily smooth and controlled. It is as if you are being lowered by an invisible cable down a dark, interminable mineshaft. As you slowly descend, your fear subsides, and you take the opportunity to look at the ring, which you cut from the hand of the Kune. It radiates its own dim light, by which you can see a runic inscription carved on the inside of the band. Record this Kune ring on your action chart as a special item if you wish to keep it. The runic numbers on its band is 20. Kune ring equals 20 rune. After what seems like more than an hour, you eventually reach the base of the dark shaft. Your feet hit solid ground with more force than you were expecting after the long and gentle descent, and the violent jolt of impact leaves you sprawled in the dust, stunned and gasping for breath. Lose 2 hit points. Dragging yourself wearily to your feet, you inspect your new surroundings with a feeling of curiosity and apprehension. You have emerged in a deep mine tunnel that passes through ore-rich rock. The reek of iron, sulfur, and rust assails your nostrils. A pungent aroma, but one that smells as sweet as spring in Summerland after the indescribable stench of the Hall of the Kune. You scan the tunnel in both directions and use your Kai sensors to gather information. The faint sound of hammering and scraping can be heard coming from somewhere above, and the symmetrical grooves which scar the tunnel walls tell you this passage was excavated by some sort of a gigantic burrowing machine. Feeling certain that you have entered a new realm of darkness, you are about to consult the Tome of Darkness when suddenly you hear a noise along the tunnel. Something huge is approaching at great speed. We have Hunt Mastery. Your improved mastery enables you to detect the outline of a large creature approaching through the tunnel. Viewed from the front, it has the appearance of a gigantic beetle, but one with hundreds of stubby legs that are moving in rapid waves like those of a millipede. You sense that it is a living creature and not a mechanical device. Also, it is approaching at terrible speed. Its width almost completely fills the tunnel, and unless you take immediate steps, you could be knocked down and crushed as it passes through. So, run, or find safe haven. You scour the tunnel walls and detect no cracks or crevices large enough to accommodate your body. You then notice the supporting beams which crisscross the tunnel ceiling. They protrude no more than a foot or two from the roof, but they could provide you with a way of escaping out of the path of the Juggernaut. If you possess magic and are a high enough rank, go here. You recite the words of the spell Teleport, and the moment you complete the recitation, you can feel your feet lose contact with the ground. You will yourself along the tunnel away from the approaching creature, and as you glide around a gentle bend, you see a junction less than 100 yards ahead, where another tunnel meets this one from the right. Displaced air now rushing past you, whipping at your hair and cloak, and the rumbling noise, which has grown to an almost deafening crescendo. Swiftly you glide along the passage, enter the joining tunnel, and ease yourself back to the ground. A few moments later, the gigantic beetle creature thunders past in a cloud of dust, hauling a long line of ore wagons in its wake. Some of these heavy wagons are empty, but the majority are piled high with grey... with grey metallic rock. The ore load is heavily veined, with a mineral which radiates a yellow luminescence. If you want to ride one of the ore wagons, sure. We take 2 damage. You make a brave leap for the ore wagon and land in it with a stunning jolt. The wagon is partially filled and you're able to stay hidden. You soon pass a junction where another tunnel joins with the main passageway, and from here on you feel the temperature rising. Although your platinum amulet protects you from the increasing heat, your senses warn you that you are in grave and ever-increasing danger. The ore in the wagon is highly radioactive, and your Kai skills and the amulet only afford so much protection from its deadly gamma rays. Fearful of this deadly cargo, you'll haul yourself over the rest of the wagon and get ready to abandon your ride. Your pulse races in anticipation of the jump from the wagon, for the wagon is moving at high speed, and the rocky tunnel floor is no more than a speeding blur. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have Pathmanship, add 1. If you have Hunt Mastery, add another 1. We roll pretty low, but with our added skills, we only take 4 damage. The radioactive ore damages us a bit, as does the fall. You pull yourself to your feet and listen to the ore train as it disappears into the distant gloom with the sound of dying thunder. When you can no longer hear its rumble, you walk back along the tunnel to the junction where a new passageway branches off to the left. Your gnawing desire to find the Moonstone prompts you to explore the tunnel, and you follow it for several hundred yards until you reach a dank and empty cavern. Streams of ore-rich water run down the walls of this chamber, staining them a rusty shade of brown. You are hungry and you decide to stop and rest here for a while. Unless you possess Super Hunt Mastery, eat a meal or lose food. We will eat our meal. While you are resting, you decide to consult the Tome of Darkness to see if it has anything about this underground land. You retrieve the book from your backpack and thumb through its shiny black pages until you discover 2 pages that have changed in color and texture. A cluster of rust-red lettering is enclosed within the black runic borders that outline these 2 sheets of creamy parchment. Once again, using your discipline of Pathmanship, you study the complex text and are able to decipher much of its meaning. Okay, so we'll make sure to write down these names because they've been important before. The words tell of Zantac, or Zantax, Lord of the Pit, whose many accompanying titles include the Reaper of Gloom, Armorer of the Fell Legions, Guardian of the Gate of Dragonflame. Sure. It says that he presides over a deep realm of rock, iron, steel, and flame, and that among the many eternal duties that he has been set by Nar, his primary task is to forge weapons of power for the Dark God's champions. Xantaz has no secret name, but you are able to translate the text which details how you could leave. It makes for an uneasy reading. The tome states that any who wish to depart must first defeat Xantaz in mortal combat and cast his body into the pit of Darkflame, from whence he shall be reborn. Only by proving oneself worthy in combat can one cause the Gate of Dragonflame to release the worthy victor. So it was throw body in pit of Darkflame, in case they demand the name of the pit. The name Xantaz is vaguely familiar, and you are sure that you have heard it before. You are sure that you have heard it before. As you ponder the remaining text, which lists his infamous deeds, You suddenly recall where it was that you remember hearing his name. It was many years ago, when you were still an initiate at the Kai Monastery. Your old tutor, Stormhawk, was lecturing your class about the Dracarim, the barbarian race of humanoids whose conquests in northern Magnaman preceded the rise of the Dark Lords of Helgedad. Xantaz was the name of a warrior god whom the Dracarim worshipped. Feeling a little unnerved by what you have discovered and remembered, you close the tome and slip it back into your backpack. You sense that the Moonstone is not to be found in this domain, and you resolve to escape as soon as possible. But if you are going to do so, it seems that you will have to find and defeat Xantaz, warrior god of the Dracarim. You get to your feet and continue along the tunnel, which leads out of the empty cavern. You follow this passageway for several hundred yards until you arrive at a junction where another tunnel crosses your path from left to right. Cautiously, you scan the tunnel in both directions and notice that away to your right, little more than 20 yards distant, is an open archway. Although you can sense no living presence, the angle of view and the darkness of the interior prevent you from determining what lies beyond the archway. To your left, your tracking skills reveal that the tunnel leads eventually to a dead end. So, main tunnel or arch? Let's go after the arch, methinks. You approach the arch, and after checking that there is no hidden trap, you enter. Beyond lies a vast, unlit hall which is filled with rows of weapons and armor. Racks of swords, spears, axes, and shields stretch into the distance as far as your keen eyes can see. Most are crudely forged, and of alien design, yet the sheer number of weapons contained within the hall is enough to take your breath away. Of the thousands of weapons, you discover that the following are of an adequate quantity. If you wish to take any, mark them on your chart. The number of arrows you can take is limited by the space in your quiver. Nope. We've already got enough weapons. For countless hours, you follow the tunnel as it ascends and descends by ramps and stairways through a bewildering maze of chambers, vaults, and grand halls. On your travels through the vast underworld, you witness many awe-inspiring sights. Huge subterranean quarries, blazing furnace armories, weapon forges, steel mills, white-hot lava pits, armies of grey-skinned humanoid workers, which labor without rest within the hellish domain, manufacturing weapons of war and destruction. At one vast hall, you stop and observe a legion of these creatures tapping the volcanic power that lies at the core of the realm. By a system of chutes and tubes, they divert a blazing lava flow to turn gigantic wheels and heat titanic vats of noxious fluids. The workers, although physically similar in size and demeanor to Dracarim, seem to lack consciousness and remain oblivious of your presence. It is as if they have been turned into unthinking automatons, only able to perform their labor and having little regard for their immediate surroundings. You leave the hall and ascend a staircase which spirals hundreds of feet through solid rock to a titanic concourse. Here, your senses detect a living presence, and you allow your instincts to lead you in pursuit of it. You enter a tunnel which branches away from the concourse and follow it to a wider passage. The walls of the passage are decorated with spectacular scenes of war and destruction. Thousands of troops fight in an endless parade of battles across landscapes from hundreds of different worlds. In each of the scenes, the theme and the outcome is identical: the victory of the superior forces of evil over the inferior forces of good. This callous celebration of evil military might infuriates you, but you control your anger and use it to sharpen your senses. You detect that somewhere at the end of this passage is where the living presence can be found, and not knowing the nature of what it is you will find there, you approach with the utmost caution. The passage ends at a vast chasm, where the narrow bridge of rock crosses a yawning void to a gate located on the far side, some 300 yards distance. So 100 meters. Or is a yard... I forget, is a yard 3 feet? How many feet is a yard? I don't use... Yeah, okay, so it's actually 300 meters. or thereabouts. The gate and its surroundings have been fashioned to resemble the mouth and head of a ferocious dragon, and the bridge of rock is likewise carved to resemble its extended tongue. A shimmering, twinkling blue-white light gleams from the mouth of the Dragon Gate, revealing it to be the exit from this dark domain. Excited by your discovery, you step onto the narrow rock bridge and make your way across to the far side as swiftly as you dare. On either side of the bridge, the chasm falls away into a seemingly bottomless pit. You try not to look down, but the sight makes your stomach churn uncontrollably. You are nearing the center of the bridge when suddenly a dark and terrifying apparition manifests itself before the Dragon Gate. This awesome sight brings you to a skidding halt. Before the Dragon Gate stands an armored colossus, clad from horned helm to booted foot in glowing black plate armor. This mighty warrior stands a full arm's length taller than yourself, and radiates an evil so intense that you feel your skin crawling with fear and revulsion. In his right hand he wields a broadsword, carved with runes of power, and in his left a dagger that bleeds scarlet venom. You launch a psychic probe to test the mental defenses of this warrior, and you are shocked when you fail to locate his mind force. You sense that this being is a living entity, and that he is the source of the power that has drawn you to the chasm. Yet, it is as if his mind has been erased. He has the psyche of an automaton, cold, brutal, utterly inhuman. His mental state presents a formidable defense against your otherwise powerful psychic abilities, rendering such attacks near useless. Yet, where your psychic skills have failed, your agility and mastery of conventional combat may prove effective against this hulking foe. If we have a bow, sure, we'll shoot him once. In the blink of an eye, you unshoulder your bow and draw an arrow ready to fire. The warrior does not flinch in the face of your swift threat, and you understand why this is so. As you cast your eyes over his body in search of a target, you are unable to detect any single chink in the thick plain mail that encases him. Cursing your mysterious foe, you release an arrow and send it whistling towards his throat, at a point where the scales on his chest armor meet the lower edge of his great helm. The steel-tipped missile fails to penetrate, shattering harmlessly on impact, and the pieces tumble away into the chasm. Lose an arrow from your inventory. Having tested his armor, there is no rush to close for combat. If at all possible, you would prefer to use your skills to defeat him at a distance. If you have immunity from heat and poison, how would that help me? I mean, magic sounds more useful. Like invisible fist and punch him off the bridge. You give voice to the Old Kingdom power word, Glor, and project its concussive energy at the towering warrior. He shudders momentarily as the invisible force of your spell word collides with his chest. However, the shock is insufficient to topple him from his narrow beam of rock, and he quickly recovers. The warrior retaliates by raising his black sword and releasing a crackling surge of electrical energy. It passes over your head and earths itself to the end of the stone beam, at the place where it joins the chasm wall. You feel a jolt beneath your feet as the beam cracks and breaks away, and to your amazement, you watch as this solid spar of rock curls up and slowly rolls in towards you, like a snake's tongue returning to its mouth. Oh, it's a full restart if you die, Adman. We've died twice so far, this book. The coiled beam retracts towards the mouth of the Dragon Gate, forcing you nearer and nearer to the fearsome Black Warrior. He watches your reluctant approach. He swings his sword above his head, slicing and stabbing at the air with an eager anticipation. When you are pushed to within 10 yards, you reach for your own weapon. We have the Summer Sword. You unsheath your magic sword, and the halo of light engulfs its razor-sharp blade, illuminating the surrounding gloom of the chasm. The towering warrior roars with anger as the light from your sword washes over him. It is as if its goodly glow is causing him pain. He bellows a phrase in the dark tongue, and then suddenly his broadsword is sheathed with black fire. which crackles and splits venomously. Then the cruel dagger, clenched in his left hand, begins to glow red. When its poisoned tip becomes white-hot, it emits a trail of noxious steam. With a maniacal yell, the warrior raises both of his weapons and strides forward, stabbing and slicing as he advances upon you. The first blow from his sword hits your blade with such power that you are thrown back as far as the coiling tongue of the rock will allow. You recover quickly and launch yourself in a swift and desperate attempt to seize the combat advantage. He's reasonably skilled. He's in fact one more skilled than us, but has less health. He's super immune to all of the magic stuff, which kind of sucks, but hey, go. We did more damage, slightly more, considerably more, more, and victory. No, he did considerably more, and finally victory. Losing about a third of our health. You unsheath the magical... Oh, no. If you win the fight, turn here. Your killing blow sends the warrior tumbling from the stone beam to plummet headlong into the yawning chasm beneath. A ring of fire bursts around him as he falls, illuminating the distant base of the vast pit, which is filled with a sea of black flame. Well, we were told to throw his body into the dark flame pit, and a sea of black flame sounds like that. You observe his falling with a sense of grim satisfaction until you become aware that you are still in mortal danger. The tongue of rock is continuing to roll steadily towards the Dragon Gate, and unless you hurry and enter the portal, you risk being crushed to death in its stony coils. If you have a very low amount of health, turn here. If you have more than a tiny amount of health, turn here. You rush towards the glowing portal and leap through it just as the retracting coil of rock reaches the mouth of the Dragon Gate. You hear a crash of stone echoing in the far distance as you fall headlong through a corridor of swirling flame. Your platinum amulet protects you from this fierce conflagration, and it also feeds you with a steady, warming stream of energy which radiates from the center of your body. Imagine winning with 4 health points left and then dying to probably that follow-up event. You'd be annoyed. Thankfully, even if that happened, we have, 4 potions of healing on us because we've been hoarding them from the previous book? Yeah, 3 from the previous book and 1 new potion for this book. Pick a number from the random number table. Double the number that you have picked. You regain that many hit points. 8 going 16, 16 full heals us. After a short time, the swirling corridor of flame gradually darkens and you feel the speed of your fall begin to decrease. Then, in a breathtaking instant, your feet slam into the hot, cidery ground, and you crash forwards and land in a tangled heap. If you had visited Palmrian, the town of Skade, in a previous Lone Book adventure, you drag yourself to your feet and look with mounting dread at the nightmarish landscape into which you have fallen. A blazing vista meets your gaze, a burning dead world of volcanic magma, boiling lava pools, and shifting islets of cinder and ash. The smoky orange sky is lit frequently by geysers of yellow flame, which shoot forth from vents in the uncertain ground, and a hellish temperature conspires with a toxic atmosphere to overwhelm your senses. Your initial feelings of dread suddenly deepen when memories of this dark domain come flooding back to haunt your consciousness. You have been here once before, 4 years previously, when your brave actions in defense of the Kai Monastery resulted in mortal combat in this evil domain against Vaxagor, the leader of Nar's dragon army. You had wished to never return to this terrible place, but fate, it seems, has decreed otherwise. You are aware that the Platinum Amulet is affording you some protection from the searing heat and poisons from the realm. However, your Kai senses tell you that a firestorm is brewing in the skies above, and you fear that the power of the amulet would not be sufficient to save you when the storm breaks. Anxiously, you scan the bleak horizon in search of anything that could prove to be shelter from the coming storm. The only feature which promises to provide such cover is a cone of a seemingly dormant volcano several miles away. If you have Alchemy and have a high enough rank, if you have Spirit Walk in a high enough rank, if you have Hunt Mastery in a high enough rank... Which rank is the one that's the highest? It was Sunlord, wasn't it? Sunlord, Sunthane, Grand... Actually, Grand Crown looks like it's the best there. Yeah, so we'll go with Magic plus Grand Crown. You speak the words of the spell Teleport and focus your eyes on the distant volcano. At once you feel yourself rising up from the uncertain soil, and you soar like an eagle through the acrid, burning air towards the distant crater. This costs you some hit points, but it saves you from a difficult trek. Upon reaching the crater, you are relieved to discover that its steep sides are covered with hardened lava, dusted with loose volcanic ash. You climb towards the rim, pausing halfway to take cover from the searing hot winds in the lee of a jagged boulder. While you are sheltering there, you take the opportunity to consult the Tome of Darkness. Its metal pages appear as blank as when you first look through them, until you discover a page that is different. Bold black text stands out from the page that glimmers like mirrored steel. Using your discipline of pathmanship, you're able to decipher much of the meaning. The text tells of a creature called Huan-Zor, and of his throne of power that is located within a nest of fire atop the Tree of the Worm. It lists the many acts of evil perpetrated by Huan-Zor during his long existence, for which he has been generously rewarded by Nah. The Dark God has granted him this fiery domain within the Plane of Darkness. It continues at length to describe the creatures that are enslaved to him, which include the Lavas, the Zarthan, and the Chugotha. But most interestingly, it reveals his secret name is Ziva, which can be used to bind him, and tells of a magical item, the scarab of a wingless dragon, which can be found in the Nest of Fire, and which can be used to effect an escape from the realm. Scarab of the wingless... Whenever I hear scarab, I can't help but have horrendous flashbacks to that puzzle in bloody Redguard. You close the tome and slip it back into your pack. From your makeshift shelter, you command a view over the surrounding landscape, in which there is nothing that remotely resembles a nest or a tree. All you are able to discern with any clarity is the blazing firestorm, which is now... You won't escape the stupid puzzle, which is now sweeping across this charred land. Fearful of what could befall you when the firestorm reaches this exposed flank of the crater, you continue your climb and seek cover within the crater itself. If you have ever visited the city of Teho in a previous adventure, upon reaching the lip of the crater, you discover that the lining of the cone is surprisingly smooth. You look down to the vent, and at its center, your suspicion is further aroused. But we did escape the guards yelling, "We'll spill your blood yet, Redguard." You look down to the vent at its center, and your suspicions are further aroused when you note that it is perfectly symmetrical. No natural volcanic force would have created this precisely circular hole, and it prompts you to slide into the cone and take a closer look. When you reach the vent, you discover it consists of a circular platform of carved stone blocks, with a well-like opening in the middle. It immediately reminds you of the Teho Cauldron, the well in the center of the city of Teho, which gives access to the ancient subterranean city of Zarix, located a mile beneath its streets. However, unlike the vent of Teho Cauldron, this hole is filled with a shimmering blue light. Your sixth sense detects that the force of gravity is greatly reduced within the confines of this shimmering pool. As you stare into its mesmerizing blue light, you suddenly realize that it is a means of transportation. It is the apex of a magical elevator that will enable you to descend the vent at a steady, controlled speed. A huge sheet of flame sweeps low across the sky. The crater offers you little protection, and the searing furnace heat smothers you, forcing you to your knees. Gasping for breath, you glance up to see that the firestorm is fast approaching. and you have no more than a few minutes until it engulfs the crater. You fear for what might lie at the bottom of the shimmering pool. However, that is matched by the terror of being caught in the approaching conflagration. We do not have a blue diamond. Your fear of being engulfed by the approaching firestorm prompts you to take immediate and decisive action. You leap into the well, and a painful jolt runs the length of your body. As you are consumed by the shimmering light, it feels as if you have jumped into a pool of ice-cold electricity. Take 4 hit point damage. The initial shock quickly passes, and you surrender yourself to the long descent through a column of glittering azure light. You feel the platinum amulet glowing warmly at your throat, and you sense that it is protecting you from the rigors of this journey. Looking down through the curtain of blue light, you can see the rooftops of ziggurats and towers rising up to meet you. Gradually, you slow to a halt and find yourself standing upon a circular dais of basalt rock atop a large, flat-roofed building. Several yards away to your left, you see a squat tower, and to your right, standing at a parapet, you see a horny skinned creature with wings that glimmer like folded sheets of gold leaf. Your pulse races when you recognize it to be a Lavas, one of Nar's deadly minions. It is peering idly at the view beyond the parapet and is unaware of your arrival. Yet you are reluctant to leave the shimmering beam for fear that it will see you and raise the alarm. If you have super duper hiding, using your Grand Mastery, you conjure a thick mist to surround the basalt dais. The sudden appearance of the fog startles the Lavas, and nervously it backs away along the parapet. It is armed with a trident, with which it stabs the air. With which it stabs the air as it retreats. As if to warn off any would-be attacker. You watch the Lavas moving away, and then, under cover of the mist, you sprint from the dais towards the open archway at the base of the tower. A spiral stone stairway leads down to a landing, 1 level below, and as you reach this floor, you see something that brings you skidding to a halt. Through the square hole in the wall of the tower, you catch your first clear view of the subterranean domain which lies deep within the crater. Nestling within a colossal cavern of crimson rock lava, you look out across an alien city that is split in two by a steep-sided chasm. Lavas swoop back and forth across the divide, while their wingless comrades traverse it by means of a narrow bridge, constructed from blocks of blue-grey basalt. As you stare at the stubby towers and the flat-roofed dwellings clustered on either side, your heart skips a beat. Perched upon a vast mound of shiny black cubes on the far side of the chasm is a temple. Carvings of dragons embellish its angular surfaces, engraved in such a fashion that their scaly bodies lie recumbent around the base of the edifice, while their tails writhe towards its highest level. Here they become entwined to form a twisted stem. Atop the stem, like branches fanning out above the trunks of a petrified tree, you see an inverted cupola of bright orange flames. A nest of fire. Your senses confirm that you have found the lair of Huanzor, the Dragon Lord, as revealed by the Tome of Darkness. Yet this nest of fire, which lies upon the Tree of the Worm, is where you will discover the scarab that will let you leave this domain. Quietly, you resolve to reach the distant temple and achieve this aim. You magnify your vision, and your hopes rise when you see that both the fiery nest and the temple appear to be uninhabited. However, your enthusiasm is soon tempered when you consider how you can reach the far side undetected. Oh, cheers, Salar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Quietly, you resolve to reach the temple and achieve this aim. You magnify your vision, and your hopes rise when you see that both the fiery nest of the temple appear to be uninhabited. Your enthusiasm is tempered when you consider how you could reach it. For several minutes, you observe the Lavas flying over the chasm. Yeah, cheers, mate. And the traffic of wingless reptiles who cross via the bridge. The construction of new dwellings is taking place on the far side, and the Lavas are busy overseeing the transportation of building blocks from a quarry situated close to the tower in which you are standing. Oh, there's the noise, a bit delayed. Under the direction of the lavas, the steady convoy of winged dragons transports these quarried blocks around the chasm in great nets, which are slung beneath their bellies. As you watch this activity, you formulate two ways of reaching the farm's far side. You could attempt to cross the bridge when there is a lull in traffic, or you could try to stow away in one of the nets. How could we not agree to the more dangerous route on the nets? You descend the spiral stairs to the base of the tower and make your way quickly through the narrow alleys of this subterranean settlement. Your Kai camouflage skills keep you hidden from the lavas and the dragons that soar overhead, and you're able to reach the edge of the quarry unnoticed. Here you observe teams of reptilians chiseling freshly quarried stone into perfect cubes. Other teams load these heavy blocks onto nets, 14 to each, and then fix them by hooks and harnesses to the dragons who transport them across the far side of the chasm. Stealthily, you make your way to an area full of nets awaiting transport. Using your discipline of Nexus, you open a sealed net and hide yourself among the blocks of stone before closing up the seal behind you. Minutes later, you hear the beat of large wings and a frenzied chattering of the reptilian work crews as they struggle to affix the net to the dragon's harness. Then the wings beat faster and you feel yourself swinging free from the ground. Slowly, the dragon hauls its heavy cargo into the air. As it begins to level out, you peer down through a gap in the blocks to see the chasm looming near. Then you see a river of scarlet lava flowing along the base of this great divide. Excellent person, Vummer. Thankfulness is becoming, everyone. Helps you be a happier person. The dragon is approaching the far side when suddenly it dips its huge head and looks down at the cargo hanging below its belly. An icicle of fear stabs your heart when you see its ghoulish eye staring directly at the place where you are hiding. Are we going to attempt to animal mastery control the dragon? You sense that the beast has detected your presence, and you know that you must act swiftly if you are to prevent it from screeching a warning. Defiantly, you return the dragon's stare, and you use your skills to command the creature to forget that it has seen you. Pick a number from the table. If your endurance is lower than 10, take 1. If it is 20 or higher, add 1. No! We roll really badly. To your dismay, you sense that the dragon is oblivious to your mental commands. It does not alert the accompanying lavas as you have feared, but it does begin to rapidly lose height. Rather than continuing its flight towards the construction area, it descends towards an area of broken rocks and derelict dwellings near the edge of the chasm. As it passes low over the derelict buildings, the bottom of the net skims a jagged parapet and is ripped open. One by one, the blocks of stone drop from the ruined net to shatter like exploding bombs as they hit the ground. Desperately, you cling to the net to avoid being swept away and crushed in the fall. The dragon caws loudly when the last block drops away and it sees you entangled in its shredded cargo net. Its frantic cries of alarms alert a passing trio of lavas, who come swooping down to investigate. Fearing capture, you leap from the net and hit a mound of dusty soil, which softens your fall. Winded and shaken by the impact, but otherwise unharmed, you roll away from the mound and take cover beneath a cracked slab of basalt in the hope of avoiding the keen eyes of the approaching lavas. Hail, Alto. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, raiders. We are playing the final adventure, the final book in our Lone Wolf series. This is sort of a choose-your-own-adventure book, but it has some sort of D&D-like combat mechanics in it, where you roll dice, well, essentially roll dice to fight enemies that you encounter along the course of the story. You pick a number from the random number table. If you have super camouflage skill, add 1 to your number. If you have hunt mastery, super hunt mastery, add 1 more. We rolled 0, so we suck again. This is 2 extremely low rolls in a row, and we just instantly die. Rip. In good news, this means that you get to join us for the start of the book. Okay. So we are the last of an ancient group of warriors. The baddies blew up our monastery when we were just learning. We rebuilt the monastery and have saved the world a bunch of times. We're about to go on our final adventure. We pick our new skills for the adventure. We don't need anything from the monastery. We will grab, for new equipment, 1 meal, 1 healing potion, 1 rope, and a second meal. And we'll see if we can get back to the same place we were. So, people talk to us about our quest. Our quest is to go basically destroy the god of evil, who has a magical stone in his possession that we want to steal. We say that we have a super magical sword that can destroy the god of evil. We say that we have a magical amulet that will protect us from the poison and evilness of his realm. We get sent off via a magical portal. Wait, rolling a 0, there are not many dice that have a 0. I said it's a random number table. It's easy to describe it as a dice, but it's literally a random number table. Yeah. Alternatively, you could use dice and use the dice to move along the random number table X number of locations. We've done both of these, so we know it doesn't really matter. We use super high hiding. We steal the bee's honey. Or the dead ant people's honey would be more accurate. The imp things try and bomb us, but we have super immunity to poison and fire. We've never chosen to run away here. We've always stand and fought the zombies, so what happens if we run away? Relying on the element of surprise, you leap through the entrance and rush towards a gap in the line of the advancing horrors. They immediately try to close ranks, but their reactions are deathly slow, and so you are easily able to barge your way through. Unfortunately, you do not get very far. A heavy weight hits you squarely in the back and knocks you to your knees. As you struggle to stand in the thick mud, you are engulfed by a coarse rope net dropped from above. Okay, so it just skips to the things doing this to you. It doesn't really matter. We lose all our gold. So it saves you a fight. Running away there just saves you a fight. We have been to Ixia. We do have Screen. We meet mini-boss number 1. We use Magic Shield. We roll well. Magic Shield mostly works. We only lose a little bit of health. His secret name is Kula. We then only steal his amulet, but don't kill him. We catch our boat over to Zone 2, having defeated Zone 1. We know that it doesn't really matter which way we go. Here are the swamp spiders, which we will fight again. Okay, the swamp spiders did about 1/6 of our total health in damage, but every page we turn we get a regenerate effect. We kill the giant arachnids and drag ourselves through the mud. Then we get back on our feet and proceed. We spirit walk to find what's inside the crypt. We then descend into the crypt. We don't have honey this time. So the beast stalks closer. You see a dull crimson fire glowing at the core of its soulless eyes. It tenses its sinewy muscles, and a dozen steely claws extend like flick knives from its forepaws. It is preparing to attack. I will not try and use our bow. The beast opens its great jaw and coughs up a vile ball of phlegm, which it spits at you with a stunning force. You dive to the floor to avoid being hit by this evil-smelling projectile, and it speeds over your head to splatter loudly against the portal. Drops of saliva spray the back of your legs, leaving tiny white stains where it instantly removes the checked dyes from your breeches. You wipe your legs with the hem of your cloak, but your stomach heaves when you detect that the creature's saliva contains a virulent plague bacteria. Fortunately, you are strong enough to be immune. Your unexpected survival makes the creature anxious. We have animal mastery. We command the creature to abandon its thoughts of eating us. Its evil eyes widen with uncertainty, and then in a moment of terror, its nerve breaks and it scrambles back up the ramp. Using your Kai skills, you're able to decipher enough of the runes to find a secret code, which lets you press a button, which lets us walk through. We have visited Mogaruith. We have no money. We do have magic. We try and counterspell. We succeed. We blow up the magical spell protecting the magical door, essentially. Well, rather than solving the magical door puzzle, we just cast counterspell so that we can push the door open without the magical trap going off. We have been to Mogaruith. We recognized the Archdruid Sanak, who have defeated like 4 times before, but is once again revisiting his unpleasantness upon us. We don't fall for his trap. We do have the Summer Sword. We have essentially Link's sword, you know, the Master Sword. Master Magic Sword. We parry the fireball back at them. We play tennis with our Magic Sword and their fireball. His special name was Runadan. We collect his Ring of Power and use it to go into Zone 3. So we've found Safe Haven before. Last time we used this, what if we... No, we'll do the same thing. That's fine. So we essentially cast Teleport / Levitate to get out of the way of the big bug that was coming to crush us. We will hop in the ore wagon. We hop in the ore wagon extremely well. We eat a meal, because we've been here for so long that we need to eat. We know that beyond the Ark is only a tunnel with some weapons, which we don't need. We proceed down to the main tunnel. We have to fight Giant Black Knight guy again. We know that using the bow was pointless. So we'll try using Grand Nexus this time. Last time I think we tried magic. The warrior raises his black sword and releases a crackling surge of electrical energy. It passes over your head and earths itself at the end of the stone beam. So this is the same. He starts the... We're essentially fighting on a bridge, and he casts a lightning bolt at the other end of the bridge that makes the bridge start retracting towards him. You give voice to the power word Kai, and project its concussive energy at the towering warrior. He shudders as the terrific force of your spell word hits him in the chest and forces him back towards the gate. Instantly you seize your advantage, draw a weapon, and rush forwards to strike the first blow while he is caught off balance. We have the Summer Sword, so he has extra skill. He is only slightly less skilled than us, but has a fair bit less health. Very good roll, very good roll, very good roll. Reasonably good roll. We defeat him. He's thrown down into the pit of fire. We go through the door that you needed to have thrown him down into the pit of fire, or otherwise the door wouldn't work. We get to heal up. We have visited this location before. Which one was the highest of these again? Was it Sunlord or Grand Crown? Let's go check what rank we are. Grand Crown was better. We cast teleport across to where we needed to go. It costs us 2 hit points, but saves us a long trip. We have been to Teho. We know to go inside the magical elevator. We ride the magic elevator down. We hide from the guard on the top of the roof at the end of the magical elevator. Okay, so going via the dragon didn't work well last time. Let's go the other way. Try and cross via the bridge. Admittedly, we rolled 2 really bad rolls in a row the dragon way, but maybe this way is safer. You hurry down the spiral staircase to the base of the tower and make your way quickly through the narrow alleys of the subterranean settlement, using your camouflage skills to stay hidden from the lavas and dragons that soar overhead. You make your way undetected to a group of rock mounds that overlook the chasm. You observe the bridge, blah 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 blah, how will you cross the bridge? So if we have Animal Mastery, we could try something. If we want to magically try and use the Force to do something to the bridge, essentially, Kai Surge's telepathy powers. Or if you can't do either of these because you don't have the skills, let's try the Animal Mastery. You notice a reptilian guard is standing on a wide parapet of the bridge. Drawing upon your improved discipline of Animal Mastery, you focus on the creature and implant an image of its most feared enemy into its mind. The beast begins to tremble uncontrollably. It drops its weapon, and with a howl of abject terror, it slips and falls headlong into the void. A pair of passing lavas dive into the chasm, screeching and cawing in alarm. The handful of creatures who are on the bridge immediately rush to the parapet. They are eager to watch as the lavas attempt to save the falling reptile before it splashes into the molten river below. From the sound of their cackling laughter, you get the impression that they're hoping the rescue won't be successful. Whilst this ghoulish group are enjoying the sight of their comrade's plight, you seize the opportunity to make a dash across the bridge. Pick a number from the random number table. If you have super invisibility camouflage skill, add 3. If you have hunt mastery, add 2. If you have low health, subtract 1. We roll not bad. We roll really badly. Even though we have both skills, and we insta-die. Death's up by 1. So no, this path is not necessarily any safer than the dragon. Than the dragon nets. In fact, if anything, it's less safe, because the dragon nets needed us to fail 2 rolls in a row, whereas that way only needed us to fail 1. Meal, rope, potion. Let's go. So same thing, we're told about our quest. Our quest is to go get the Moonstone out from the chamber of the evil god. We say we have a sword that can hurt him. We say we have a magical amulet that will protect us on our way there. We help them teleport us to the evil god's sort of dimension. We know that neither of these matter. They both end up going to the same place. So which way we choose to proceed is sort of irrelevant. We will grab the honey, because it makes it so that we don't have to try and mind control the hyena thing, the animal in the crypt. They try and dive bomb us, but we have super immunity to poison and fire. We know that running away here is fine and just saves us a fight. We will lose one of our spare ropes. We have visited Ixia. We do have Psyscreen. We meet Mini-Boss 1. We cast Magic Shield while they try and throw spears at us. Magic Shield mostly works. His secret name was Kula. We steal his amulet, but leave him alive. We advance onto Area 2. having defeated mini-boss 1. We know that it doesn't matter which two of these we do. We fight the spiders. Spider's dead. Spirit walk to find out that there's a trap inside the crypt. Go into the crypt. The big hyena monster thing comes down and follows us. We feed it honey and it goes away. I do have gold crowns, and we put it in the circular slot. We have visited Mogaruith. We do have Psy-Screen. We don't trust the spirit of our dead enemy who has fought us on 4 separate occasions. We do have the Summer Swords, so we can parry the magic back at them. His secret name is the Middle One. We grab their magical rings of power and use it to descend into Area 3. We can find Safe Haven and then cast magic to get out of the way of the charging bug. We will try and ride the wagon again. We take some damage. We eat a meal. We make our way to the chamber for this end area. We know not to go here because it's just an armory with weapons, and we already have enough weapons. Welcome, Mr. Black Knight again. We know not to shoot him. We do know that this actually sort of did something. We do have the Summer Sword. Fight. So far, every combat round we've won. Success, he got us down to 2/3 health. Don't get destroyed by his magical gate. Get some health back. We have been to Palmrian. What if we try Telegnosis here? We cross the difficult terrain to the distant crater in as short as time as possible by adjusting our body's weight. But we still suffer some minor injuries. Okay, we've been to Tahoe, we ride the magical elevator. We don't have the item that prevents the magical elevator's security from attacking us. At the other end of the elevator, we hide from the guard with our super hide skill. Now, we know to not try and use the bridge, but rather ride the dragon. And hopefully this time we succeed. We succeed at convincing the dragon that we don't exist. We go, we are not the person you are looking for at the dragon. To your relief, you sense the dragon is no longer convinced that it is carrying a stowaway. It raises its head and continues its flight towards the construction area, which lies close to the main temple. Upon reaching this busy area, it hovers above an expanse of leveled ground, which is covered with dozens of cargo nets full of blocks, awaiting collection by the building teams. A crew of 4 reptilians guide your net gently to the ground and then swiftly unhook it from the dragon's harness. From the safety of your hiding place, you watch as the dragon flies away to go collect more cargo. As soon as the reptiles move on to attend to the next delivery of blocks, you leave your hiding place and make your way as quickly as possible to the temple. The piles of building materials and partially filled dwellings that surround the base of the temple make it easy for you to approach the edifice without being seen. Your senses confirm that this grand construction is the lair of Huan Zor, master of this fiery domain, and they also confirm that the evil Dragon Lord is not in residence. You skirt around the base of the temple until you locate an entrance which is guarded by 2 armored reptilians. Using your Magna Chi skills, you lure the guards away from their posts long enough for you to gain entry. Once inside, you discover that a ground level the temple comprises just one large chamber, which is supported by a single central pillar that runs through the middle of the building. A circular stair winds around the outside, giving access to the layers above. Cautiously, you ascend the stairs and pass through all 4 levels. The higher you climb, the hotter it becomes, until you reach the uppermost tier. Only your platinum amulet saves you from being roasted alive. In the roof of this narrow circular chamber, you discover an open trapdoor, through which you can see a mass of flickering orange flames. You sense that it is the base of the Nest of Fire, the location as told in the Tome of Darkness, of the Scarab of the Wingless Dragon, the artifact that can secure your escape from this domain. With bated breath, you climb the scorched steps that lead to the open trapdoor, but as you draw closer, your sixth sense warns you that not all is as it seems. It is protected by an invisible shield of magical energy. If you have a blue diamond, turn here. Else, turn here. We haven't found a blue diamond, so we go this way. A closer look at the raised stonework surrounding the trapdoor reveals an unbroken line of engravings that flow around the number of square indentations in the scorched basalt. You focus on these with your senses, and that reveals themselves to be part of a combination lock that activates the spell protecting the hatch. If you press the correct number of hollows in the correct order, it will cause a shielding spell to vanish. You study the engravings and decipher a series of clues within their shapes that helps you deduce the correct number of hollows and the order in which they must be pressed. The secret and sequence is equal to exactly half the value of the runic number inscribed on the inner band of the Kune ring. The Kune ring had the number 20 on it, so the secret sequence is equal to half of 20, which is 10. Correct. Proceed. The instant you tap the 10th square, amber sparks flare and crackle to life, encircling the opening like a trail of a slow-burning fuse. You sense that the magical shield that protects the hatch is disappearing. When you can no longer detect any residue of magical energy, you pull yourself through the trapdoor and climb into the Nest of Fire. With trepidation, you cast your eyes around the walls of this fiery nest to see a great shaking panoply of gold, orange, and crimson flames. They shoot 15 paces into the air, and despite your protections, they scorch you with their terrible heat. The floor of the nest is paved with glowing black metal and is heaped with scores of wondrous artifacts that comprise Huan-Zor's secret treasure hoard. Gems, jewelry, statuettes, armor, weapons of fiendish design and purpose are piled knee-high around you. Close by the trapdoor, you notice a pool of shimmering blue light that you immediately recognize to be the apex of a transporter beam, similar to the one that brought you here from the crater. By its location, you judge that it must pass through the central column that supports the rest of the temple below. At first, you assume it gives access to the underground levels of the temple, but when you stare into its mesmerizing light, your sixth sense reveals otherwise. The transporter beam leads to another realm within the plane of darkness. Mindful of your purpose here, you search the treasure hoards for the scarab that will enable you to escape from this hellish domain. As you are sifting through the hundreds of artifacts, you hear a distant screech that is distinctly different from the coarse cawing of the passing lavas. Through the flickering wall of flames, you glimpse the outlines of a gigantic dragon as it emerges from a vent in the roof on the far side of the chasm. Immediately, a deathly silence fills the great cavern as the lavas and reptilians cease their activities and bow in deference to their master. Your pulse races when you see the monstrous creature come gliding across the chasm towards the temple, for you know that he is Huan-Zor, the Dragon Lord, ruler of this realm of fire, and he is fast returning to his nest. Pick a number from the random number table. Add 3 if you have spirit walking. We roll well. The sight of Huan-Zor's fast approaching galvanizes you into action. You abandon your physical search for the scarab, and instead close your eyes and focus your psychic its Kai skills in an attempt to detect its presence directly. The tactic works, for the image of the scarab crystallizes in your mind's eye. When you open your eyes, you're disappointed to discover that you are staring at a seemingly plain gold orb. Through the wall of flames, you can see Huanzor's flaring of his mighty wings. He's slowing his approach to the temple in preparation to land. In desperation, you stoop to retrieve the orb from among the other treasures, and as your fingers touch its golden surface, it breaks open to reveal the scarab within. Moments later, the shadow of Huanzor darkens the nest. He is now seconds away from landing. Keep the scarab. I mean, we were told to grab the scarab and escape, so let's go. The moment you enter the beam, you feel yourself descending through the center of the temple in a cocoon of shimmering blue light. Gradually, the heat of the nest of fire gives way to pleasant coolness. As you continue your descent deeper and deeper into the unknown, this equable temperature slowly transforms into an unbearably icy chill. Never before have you experienced this terrible coldness that engulfs you now. Fortunately, the magical properties of the Scarab of the Wingless Dragon protect you and keep you from freezing to death. Recorded on your action chart, it is a special item that you must keep in your pocket. As the temperature slowly begins to rise, you're able to examine the scarab that you took from Huanzor's nest, and at once you notice 2 runic numerals on the back of its wingless dragon, engraved in its surface. The dragon equals 31. Make note of this number in the margin of your action chart. Having satisfied your curiosity, you place the scarab in the pocket of your tunic and wait patiently for the beam to complete its seemingly endless descent. Eventually, the shimmering light fades, and you feel solid ground materialize beneath your feet once more. Stretching before you now lies a gigantic cavern. Its walls of cracked and stained obsidian rise to a high-arched roof where 12 stalactites are glowing lime-green stone form a circle. On the floor directly below this circle are the shattered remains of a crystal dais, its broken fragments glimmering in the cavern's eerie and icy gloom. If you've ever visited the city of Helgor in a previous book, turn here. This gloomy cavern looks chillingly familiar, and when suddenly you recognize its derelict features, a sense of fear and loathing pervades your mind. It is here that you first encountered the demoness Shamath and her army of attendants, the dread automatons. You shudder when you recall how you seized the evil Death Star from that place. The chamber's crackled and crumbling walls seem to reaffirm your past victory over the demoness, and you detect no trace of the Shadowgate nor the supernatural creatures which previously dwelt in this once splendid chamber. Cautiously, you step out of the transporter beam and enter the cavern. The shattered remnants of the crystal dais crunch underfoot as you make your way across the floor towards a tunnel, which gradually descends more than a mile before reaching a circular cavern. The mouths of several smaller tunnels meet at the floor towards a tunnel which gradually descends for more than a mile before reaching a circular cavern. The mouths of several smaller tunnels meet at this chamber, and all of these entrances are dark, save for one which radiates an icy blue luminescence. Before approaching any closer, you retrieve the Tome of Darkness from your backpack and consult its pages. Oh, just a sec. Yeah? Beg pardon, there's a bit of a emergency happening outside with the horses, so I'm going to have to step away for 10-15 minutes and deal with that. I will be back in not too long, but sorry. Can't leave animals in distress. Actually, this is a bit more dire than I thought it was. I'm probably we're gonna need like an hour to deal with this outside, so I will end stream and we'll come back later. I do apologize, but you can't let the animals be in suffering, so sincerest apologies. Might be back in an hour or so. Stay safe all. Until then, can I throw you to anyone? We'll go with Cal. Didn't do that to itself. Thank you all again. Stay safe.